Muted. Unmuted.
Are we recording? We're good?
This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our July 13th, 2023 Lander County Commissioners meeting. All times on this agenda are approximate. Consideration of items may require more or less time than is scheduled. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The public body may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and the public body may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. Public comment is designated for discussion only. The public has the opportunity to address the commission on any matter not appearing on the agenda. However, no action may be taken on any matter raised until that matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Additionally, public comment may be heard on any item listed on the agenda. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and or attend and make comments on any agenda item at the Lander County Commissioners Board meeting. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the commission. Please note that the public body may interrupt the open meeting and exclude the public for the purpose of having an attorney-client discussion of potential and existing litigation pursuant to NRS 241-015-3B2. So I'll call this meeting to order. Bert, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence. Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Mike, we'll start with you.
I attended the hospital board last night, discussing around agreements for the transfer over to the county for the ambulance service. And just basic business. I do have the financials. I got them on my email. I'll get them out as soon as I get back to my computer. I just didn't get them emailed out. I haven't been there this morning, but I will get that out first thing to everybody for the financials we requested last time. That's about what I have.
Okay, thank you. JR?
I went to a water board meeting in Fallon last Friday. And it was just standard business of protesting and of the applicants for water rights and stuff. But basically, they had a thing there where all the bills that were put in, applied for at the state, and the ones that passed and the ones that didn't. I got a copy of it right here, if anybody wants to look at it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
The convention and tourism meeting I went to, major discussions on there were the issuings of grants to some of the different organizations in town, and so that was the only meeting I attended.
Okay, Patsy?
Thank you. I did have an NACO meeting at the end of June 30th. Mary Walker is the one who kind of headed up the Indigent Defense Bill stipend, and she was there to go over a few things. I actually know that our staff has been working on it, but there's so much to it. I think we'll probably have it on our agenda coming up. But if you can remember, actually way back in 21, when they passed one of the assembly bills, they mandated the counties to conduct the pre-trial release hearings within 48 hours. So of course our judges have been before us and we've been talking about that. So this new bill actually that they put through, the AB 518, basically takes the state and funds $1,474,200 to the different counties. So they will be giving us additional funds for what they call weekend and holidays. So they'll take one day and it's $450 stipend. And that's for their weekend or holiday work. So whether they work that weekend or they don't, they're gonna choose a day and say, whatever, I'll be there Saturday, Sunday. They will get the $450 stipend automatically, whether they're there or not, because it will cover for the whole year. So it's an additional 24,000 something that would be to our public defenders and our DA and our judges. So we need to put that back on and take a look at it and see, because I know with our public defender, we did give him a little bit more money than we wanted to, but not as much as he wanted. But if he takes the 24,000, we can probably reduce ours a little bit. It's just something to look at. But anyway, that was one of the biggest things they talked about. Of course, the rest were all the bills, and the staff was there on everything through this session. They did do a final bill tracker for us and a legislative session summary. And I know we've got one from PullPack too, so I'm not gonna go into the bills or anything, because there's quite a number that affect the counties. On July 7th, our other commissioner was talking about the Central Nevada Regional Water Authority, and we did have some bills in there. Senator Goichea actually presented some for us, and 4 of them were turned down. One of them we did get through, and the one that got through was the amends requirements for groundwater management plans in the critical management areas. So we really tackled that one. And it was interesting, just as kind of I thought a very interesting note, one of the bills that didn't go through, actually, they withdrew, but it prohibits a food establishment from providing drinking water to a customer unless they request it. It prohibits them. I mean, they can. And I'm glad that one didn't go through. It's like, talk about taking away the choice of our restaurants and our food establishments. So, I mean, there were some crazy bills in there. Not as many as the last legislative session, about 200 and some shorter than the last time. But it was a difficult one. And then on the 10th, we had our Austin Airport board meeting. We've been trying to do a sign on 722 with a big sign for airport. We've got a little one that says airport. So we've been working on that for some time, and Road and Bridge actually put the big poles up. So that's kind of exciting. So next is the sign, and we'll be working on that. Because Road and Bridge has really been so busy. And then, of course, they ran out of gas, I guess, that couldn't be delivered. So that was interesting. But they are going to... Public Works told us that they are going to kind of rehabilitate our well and do some protection for winterizing it and such. So we don't need a new well, but they're working on that part of it. So that's all good.
All right, well, thank you, Patsy. Okay, we'll move into staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Good morning, Commission. I did also attend the hospital board meeting last night, and I need some general direction from the board in this update. They did agree to rent us back the ambulance barn where the ambulances currently are for a rate of $4,000 a month. $2,600 of that is for utilities. The remainder, that's a triple net, would be the rent, so they would cover all the utilities, the maintenance, and the insurance for the building. But that's what they're asking for. So if I have some general direction, we can start working towards getting a contract in place. That is kind of important because it allows us to start applying for some of the licensing for the ambulances, and that you have to have an established place that you're going to be storing your ambulance to store your medication. If you don't have an address for that, then you can't start the process of that application.
Hey, Bert, on that, so it was $4,000 a month, and of that, $2,600 is utilities that they're covering?
Yes,
So we'd be paying like $1,400 in rent.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
It's not the whole building that we get either, by the way. There's a couple of sleeping quarters and the ambulance barn itself, the bays. So, I don't want the board to be confused thinking we're getting the whole building, because we're not. Then, something that the commission should be aware of, I know that you guys will probably be getting hit because the tax bills are going out, and there's an increase from our TV board of $12. It's something that I think we should probably direct people to Lyra for, because she has a lot more information on when the last increase was, and for how much. I believe it used to be about $22 or $20 a month that each household in Lander County paid, and it hasn't been increased, I want to say, since 2004, but please double check with Lyra on that. So they jumped that $12, and I'm not sure how that assessment works or how they can increase it, but that's just something that I'm sure that as commissioners you guys will get hit with, and Lyra is your expert in that. And that's all that I have. Everything else, I believe, is on this agenda, and the other meetings that we attended will be on upcoming agendas. So I know that some of the Austin town realignment things, we did have a meeting with the Division of Water Resources on water rights for the community of Austin, and how that's gonna pan out. I think that they're wanting us to maybe give some water rights over as a subdivision map would be done. We aren't certainly, we completely agree with that, since that's been, it's kind of a separate NRS and how that works, but we'll update the commission on that as we proceed forward with the attorneys.
Okay, thank you, Bert.
To add on to the TV board, I did go to that meeting too, and I forgot until you just said that. Thank you. For the TV board, I think it was the Department of Taxation was advising our secretary that the rate, there had to be some type of a rate adjustment, because it had not been, and I'm thinking it was 2004 since there had been an increase in anything done. So our secretary was being advised by the Department of Taxation that there had to be some kind of adjustment, and it brought up to some point. And then, so people know, with that, we moved our equipment as soon as we could get up there with the road because of the snow. We removed our equipment into the Eureka County building, and then we had to buy all new antennas and all the equipment and stuff like that, so people know that there has been new equipment purchased as we moved in, and are utilizing and renting space from Eureka, so we're not in our little spot where we were, and should not have the problems that we were having prior. But just for the information, the Department of Taxation was involved in that tax, requesting that tax increase, so I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that.
Okay, we'll move into our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action, without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's Office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. 1, approval of July 13th, 2023 agenda notice. 2, approval of May 10th, 2023 special meeting minutes. 3, approval of May 25th, 2023 meeting minutes. 4, approval of June 8th, 2023 meeting minutes. 5, approval of June 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. 6, approval of June 26th, 2023 special meeting minutes. And 7, approval of payroll change requests. Oh, sorry. Is there any public comment for non-agendized items? Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any amended changes on the agenda? Okay. I make a motion, we approve number 1, the agenda notice, number 2, May 10th special meeting minutes, number 3, May 25th meeting minutes, and number 7, approval of payroll change requests. I did not receive the other minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. I think before we do our payment of bills, we're going to wait 3 minutes here because we have a public hearing scheduled for 9:15. Kathy has her clock on the wall, right? Okay. Okay, great. Item 2, public hearing for discussion and possible action to modify and/or approve or disapprove the adoption of ordinance 2023-01, repealing Lander County Code, Title II, Chapter 70, for the dissolution of the Lander County Economic Development Authority, also known as the LEDA Board. So we're here to see if we're good with the way the ordinance is written. Do we need to modify it, approve it, or disapprove it? So is there any discussion on it?
Can you put on the record and ask if there's anybody in the public that has
Any,
Okay.
Comment
Is
on
there any public comment on the issue?
thank you.
Anybody on the phone that would like to say anything? Okay, I'll hear a motion. Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the adoption of ordinance 2023-01, repealing Lander County Code, Title II, Chapter 70, for the dissolution of the Lander County Economic Development Board, also known as the LEDA Board. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay. So we'll go back to item 1, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the payment of bills. We need to pull check number 220192, check number 220262, check number 220121, and check number 220195.
I make a motion we approve the balance of the bills, minus those 4 just read into the record.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'll make a motion we approve checks number 220262, 220121, and 220195.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I abstain. They're made to my employer. I'll make a motion that we approve check number 220192.
I'll second it.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
And I abstain, it is my per diem expense, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item 3, for discussion and possible action regarding continuing or discontinuing the use of verbatim meeting minutes. The price has increased to $3.75 per minute. Okay, we have any discussion on it?
I would prefer that we stay with a verbatim, for searching when you're years down the road when you're trying to search for things. If they're not verbatim and the specific words are left out, then you can't find stuff. And I think that it makes it difficult. We've had to search for things in the last 4 years that I've been here, and it's tough if you do not have the right verbiage, and so, or names or things like that are left out. Reading through the lady's explanation for the cost, I believe that it's well worth the cost, because from someone who did transcribing for many, many years for law enforcement, it is tough to get it and listen back and forth, back and forth. One issue they've had, and we've been asked about this probably 15 times since I've sat here, is the background noise of people in the audience and stuff talking. I know people want to talk about stuff, but when you have a bunch of talking in the audience, then it overtakes the mics, and they can't, when she's trying to listen for things, she cannot hear. So I think if we can stay on top of that and try to keep that to a minimal, if people want public comment, things like that, that's wonderful, but if they're chatting a lot in the back, the transcriber just can't hear, and there's important things that need to be on there if we're paying for verbatim, and we're trying to search for stuff and you can't because you can't understand what's being said.
You know, this is really interesting with the cost, because I think we all remember when it was just simply highlighted, like we do most of our advisory boards and such now. By doing verbatim, it has certainly helped in a lot of situations where, like Commissioner Kathy says, we have to pull. On the other hand, there's a lot there that we go into on different things that aren't quite so controversial that I don't think we really do need, especially now that we have the video. if there's something that really is critical, we can go back to a video and perhaps have that one portion of the video transcribed. Just a thought. The other thing would be that maybe we choose different things at the beginning of our meeting that we might want verbatim. Like, we know this is a contentious item, let's go ahead and do this. But like the regular things that take so long and we talk on, that doesn't really have to be, like our reports and such and finances and such, perhaps we wouldn't have to do that.
So we
Okay.
could do it like that, or we could do it to where we just go back and we don't do the verbatim. And if we need those minutes and we need them verbatim, then we can actually go back to the transcriber and ask her
it to be done.
do that particular meeting that we need verbatim and then do it that way.
Yeah.
That is an option as well.
If we could get that fast enough,
Yeah.
right, it would,
I like
because,
that.
like I said, we've never had the videos before. And of course, if there's a question, that's where we go back to anyway, even on the minutes. If I have a question on the minutes, they go back to the video to verify that. So, but I do think, we need to stay on top of these things. But like I said, with the video now and the technology that we have, it is getting to be a really big expense, and the minutes are hard to go through because verbatim is absolutely everything, whether it's a baby crying in the background or whether you're hesitating with, and it's all on there, and that's not necessary anymore. I don't think.
Yeah, that was my one question, is if we got into a legal situation and we needed that.
You can
So
ask
that's why I
for it.
like that idea,
Yes.
that you can always say, okay, please subscribe this agenda item on this agenda at this time, and then we have it, so.
Yep.
I'm fine if we can do it that way.
So as we do the meeting, you can, if there's an item that you think we might need, all you have to do is just let Molly and us know ahead of time. We can make sure that section is verbatim, or we can just do them all just minimal, and then if it comes up, we can ask for it. So it's just whatever direction you guys wanna go.
You guys have any questions?
I think that's a good idea.
I don't have a problem with just as long as, she has a time frame.
Yeah.
You know, and has said, we can get it done at this time frame. So
And I
if
know
it's
there's
something-
things like the legal, like we need instantly, so Jeannie and I actually go and we pull the video and we transcribe it for us, for the sake of our needs when we do it, so it's actually pretty simple to do, so it's up to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public input on it? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that, we go ahead and, not do verbatim, and then in the case that there's something that we need, that we have those minutes, done verbatim
Okay.
at that time.
And do you wanna put the dollar amount in there?
Is it the 375? Is
Yeah.
that what she's looking at?
Yeah.
That's the
So when would be
375.
our effective date? Today?
I'm fine with that.
As of today.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yes.
On the ordinance, was Mike a nay?
On the lead, yes, you were a nay, correct, Mike? Yes, he was a nay.
Everyone else was,
Yes. Everybody else was aye? Okay.
thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item 4. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the resolution number 2023-12 for the transfer of Lander County's 2023 annual allocation of private activity bond cap in the amount not to exceed $366,443.42 to Nevada Rural Housing Authority for its single-family home ownership programs. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Diane Arvizo, Nevada Rural Housing Authority, Director of Homeownership Programs, for the record. It's my pleasure to be here before you today in Lander County. I do want to address the agenda item for you just briefly and then have an opportunity to answer any questions for you as you consider this item. I do want to start, though, with the emphasis on how partnerships and relationships are truly the cornerstone of the programs that we offer, specifically the homeownership programs in Lander County, and how they have been a key contributor to the success of Nevada Rural Housing's Home at Last homeownership program. From the very beginning, when we launched the program in 2006, 17 years ago, Lander County has been a partner with us, transferring unused bond cap every year to help support the homeownership programs to be used exclusively in rural Nevada. That bond cap transfer over the years has totaled $3.7 million to date, which is awesome, especially because we have provided $12.5 million in affordable mortgages to Lander County residents, actually 80 home buyers in Lander County. And those home buyers received $465,000 in down payment assistance through our programs. And some of those families who received a mortgage credit certificate received an estimated tax savings of $20,000 to help make their homeownership more affordable. The bond cap transfer that is before you today is a funding mechanism that we use to help rural Nevadans be able to afford a home. We use it specifically for our mortgage credit certificate program, which we call the MCC. And that MCC is what helps really open up the door to affordable homeownership for many home buyers. The federal estimated tax savings that that home buyer receives when they have an MCC is considered additional qualifying income because they're going to be paying less taxes. They're going to get a tax credit dollar for dollar based on a percentage of the interest that they pay on the home. That's the awesome part of the MCC. They actually can increase their take-home pay by making that adjustment to their W-4. Take home more on their paycheck, makes that payment more affordable. That means the lender can use that additional qualifying income to help them qualify when they're applying for a loan, which also means that they can also help qualify when they have debt. So it lowers their debt to income ratios. More income, they're carrying student loan debt, for example, they're going to help qualify when they have the MCC. That mortgage credit certificate also stays with that mortgage over the life of the loan as long as they live in that home as their primary residence. So they never lose that, even if they refinance. We will reissue that certificate to them no matter how many times they refinance, so they can continue to receive that tax credit until they no longer occupy the home. So we would consider, or ask you to consider, making that transfer again of your unused bond cap, with the reminder of anybody who's not aware, especially in your public, that that bond cap is not a budgetary item, it's not cash. Every year the federal government gives bond cap to the state of Nevada. Half of that is held with the state, the other half is issued to the counties and cities based on their population. And by September 1st, if you haven't already had a request for a qualified purpose, then if you don't have it transferred to someone like Nevada Rural Housing, it will revert to the state on September 1st. So by transferring it to Nevada Rural Housing, if you don't have another use for it, then we will pull it with the other transfers that we've received and continue to support the Home at Last Mortgage Credit Certificate Program. So again, it doesn't have any fiscal impact to you or the county.
Yeah, I had asked that question in years past, was that I was concerned with if we don't and we want to use it, and she said it'll go to the state and they'll use it however they want. So what I was glad to see this year is that of the the cap was 366,000, but 465,000 assistance to Lander County citizens. So I like that. So it's coming back home and being used here locally for our citizens. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's used exclusively in rural Nevada.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Are there any questions, comments?
We do have to read the resolution in though,
Yes.
so if everybody's okay with that, I will go ahead and make a motion. We approve resolution number 2023-12, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Lander County, Nevada, providing for the transfer of the county's 2023 private activity bond volume cap to the Nevada Rural Housing Authority and other matters related thereto. Whereas, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 348A of the Nevada Revised Statutes, NRS, and Chapter 348A of the Nevada Administrative Code, NAC, there has been allocated to Lander County, Nevada, the county, the amount of $366,443.42 in tax-exempt private activity bond value cap for the year 2023, which is the 2023 bond cap. And whereas the Nevada Rural Housing Authority, the NRHA, has requested that the county transfer its 2023 bond cap to the NRHA for the purpose of providing a means of financing the costs of single-family residential housing that will provide decent, safe, and sanitary dwellings at affordable prices for persons of low and moderate income, the single-family programs. And whereas the county as a local government is defined by NAC 348A.070, and whereas Section 348A.180 of the NAC provides a procedure whereby the county may, by resolution, transfer to any other local government located within the same county, all or any portion of its 2023 bond cap. And whereas pursuant to NRS 315.983(1)A, the NRHA is an instrumentality, local government, and political subdivision of the state of Nevada, the state. And whereas the NRHA is located within the county, pursuant to NRS 315.963, which defines the NRHA's area of operation as any area of the state which is not included within the corporate limits of a city or town having a population of 150,000 or more. Now therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the county does hereby find, resolve, determine, and order as follows. Section 1, recitals. The recitals set forth herein above are true and correct in all respects. Section 2, transfer of a private activity bond volume cap. Pursuant to NAC 348A.180, the county hereby transfers its 2023 bond cap in the amount of $366,443.42 to the NRHA for its single-family programs. Section 3 of the 2023 bond cap, the NRHA will use the 2023 bond cap for single-family purposes in the calendar year 2023 to carry forward any remaining amount according to the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended for such purposes. Section 4, representative of county. Pursuant to NAC 348A.180(1), the Director of the State of Nevada Department of Business and Industry, the Director, may contact Bert Ramos, County Manager, Lander County, regarding this resolution at 775-635-2885 or by email at bramos@landercountynv.org or in writing at 50 State Route 305, Battle Mountain, Nevada 89820. Section 5, additional action. The Chair of the Board of Commissioners and the Clerk of the County are hereby authorized and directed to take all actions as necessary to effectuate the transfer of the 2023 bond cap and carry out the duties of the county hereunder, including the execution of all certificates pertaining to the transfer as required by NAC 348A. Section 6, direction to the NRHA. The NRHA shall notify the Director in writing as soon as practicable of the occurrence or non-occurrence of any term or condition that would affect the disposition of the 2023 bond cap. Section 7, representative of the NRHA. Pursuant to NAC 348A.180(3), the Director may contact Diane Arvizo, Director of Homeownership Programs of the NRHA, regarding this resolution at 775-886-7900 or by email at diane@nvrural.org or in writing at Nevada Rural Housing Authority, 3695 Desatoya Drive, Carson City, Nevada 89701. Section 8, obligation of the county. This resolution is not to be construed as a pledge of the faith and credit of or by the county or of any agency, instrumentality, or subdivision of the county. Nothing in this resolution obligates or authorizes the county to issue bonds for any project or to grant approvals for a project or constitutes a representation that such bonds will be issued. Section 9, enforceability. If any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this resolution shall for any reason be held to be invalid or unenforceable, the invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, clause, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining provisions of this resolution. This resolution shall go into effect immediately upon its passage. Adopted, signed, and approved this 13th day of July 2023 by the Board of County Commissioners in Lander County.
Thank you very much, Patsy, for reading that into the record. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been motioned and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much, and nice job reading that very
Yeah.
long resolution.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move into item 5, update from Ken Brown with Western County Alliance regarding public land issues. Good morning, Ken.
Morning. Ken Brown, Western Counties Alliance, good to be here, good to see everyone, we appreciate some time on the agenda. Oh, excuse me, I guess I was frightened by the red light. Okay, I'll slip through this agenda, not to impact your time more than necessary. The first item, payment in lieu of taxes, PILT, is when I make up an agenda, PILT is always number one because of the value of the program, and it continues to be the good program. And it's secure, as secure as a Fed program can be. Total appropriation for the program, $578.8 million. And so that's about a 1 to 2% increase, which we appreciate, because you know the sequester process has been ongoing as the feds had difficulty, the Congress and the administration approaching the government default situation. So anyway, you're fortunate to come out ahead with your payment. I'll just make a comparison with last year. 2022 payment was $1,110,885. And 2023 pay, $1,190,550. So a good increase based on the situation that was going on. There's always been quite a good educational process from a variety. Counties, state associations, groups like mine, and so it's really paid off because there are some members of Congress. Why do we need to pay PILT? Well, it helps counties to pay for valuable, expensive services on public land. So feds, if you choose not to pay PILT, be prepared to step to the plate to provide the services. Counties can take care of their population, but they cannot take care of an influx of population without some revenue assistance. Now, I get asked a question occasionally, does PILT require reauthorization like the SRS program? And the answer is no. When PILT was put into law in 1976, that authorized the program for an unlimited period. And so with PILT, what we always have to deal with every year is obtaining an appropriation to make the PILT payments. So that's a good part, not to have any reauthorization. Item 2, Secure Rural Schools, SRS. The program is not too secure. There are many in the feds area that say we need to dabble in public education relating to states and local. And the feds have not been too wanting to deal with natural resource issues within the forests. So the 25% forestry sheet category of revenue is pretty well depleted. So that was the purpose of organizing the SRS program. 2023 total appropriation, $238,648,043. The 2023 pay was down to $90,307. Two reasons. The sequester process that you know got implemented, and the way the formula works for the SRS program, when there's reauthorization, the following year always decreases maybe to about 5%, something in that area. So your payment is down $29,400. And so that's unfortunate, but we hope that changes and improves for next year. Nevada's total for the program, $3,411,616. Okay, item 3, geothermal continues to be a valuable energy source. However, the pay for that program is down substantially, and I'm sure you commissioners probably understand the specifics of why. I suppose location, overhaul type of thing, equipment problems, but anyway, the last payment was less than $100,000. So, and looking back and some numbers, and like in 2020, you got over 406,000. So I don't know again specifically why the payment is down so much. But anyway, remains a very good energy source. Okay, item 4, sage grouse issue. There's not much attention going on there, fortunately, because there were, back in the Obama administration days, there was an attempt to amend and restrict that situation, and of course that would be a tremendous impact on livestock grazing. So we don't see any movement there, no amendment. Don't see any amendment on the table, and so that's good news. Wild horse burrow, gee, what can I say? It just continues to be a difficult program. It seems like when there's one step forward, then there's two back. And it just seems like that's the way it continues to be. As you know, Nevada is the most impacted state with excess numbers. And I've had discussion at the board meetings with some of the folks, and they say, well, in livestock grazing, your AUM fee, you don't hardly pay anything. And I says, well, why don't you go to Congress and get an AUM fee with the same amount? Well, we can't do that. But I says, you know, livestock are there on a permit basis, which they pay. They have an on date and an off date. And vegetation process is analyzed all the time. And it's a good program. There needs to be harvest of the vegetation. So anyway, the budget for that program this year is a whopping $156 million. Wow. Yeah, we could use that revenue in other areas, couldn't we? RS 2477 roads, item 6. I continue to assist counties as needed to put together a road package to submit to a federal judge for 2477 status. As you know, the feds would like total jurisdiction of public land roads. So anyway, a county that I assisted, this is some years ago, submitted a package of 15 roads. And the judge issued 2477 status on 12 of the 15 roads. There was no contestment for the environmental group nor anyone else, and there hasn't been anything since. So it's just up to the counties how things work out. It's expensive. You got a mapping process, road inventories, and so forth. There's a lot of revenue involved. But anyway, I'm here to assist wherever the need might be. Clean Water Act and the 1872 mining law. Well, there's some action going on with the Clean Water Act, as you're well aware of. Back in the Obama administration days, there was his attempt to transfer states' water rights, coupled with counties, to the feds, waters of the U.S., and you recall that. Well, then it went on. He was unsuccessful, and he was trying the front door, but fortunately it didn't work. It was defeated. Well, the administration now, the Biden administration, you know what's going on there. They're trying the back door situation. And so the rule out there was changed. There was a court case that went by a couple that felt like the EPA was interfering with their public land or private land rights. And you're aware of that, I'm sure. And the U.S. Supreme Court favored the couple that submitted the court case and said it was violating their private land rights. So there's looks like an attempt to rewrite the rule. They just want to get these water rights under the Fed's jurisdiction, which would be a very, very poor thing. And commissioners, there's a great deal of opposition from a variety of groups, elected officials, and so forth. So any rule that might be rewritten, why, it's going to be heavily opposed. So that pretty well takes care of what I have to say relating to the agenda. I appreciate your support, Lander County, and I will continue to address public land issues in your behalf the best I can. And the other thing is I, via conference call, get involved with your county public land committee. And I appreciate doing that. So I've been here long enough. So again, thank you for everything, and especially your time today.
Well, thank you, Ken, for the update. Do we have any questions
I do.
for Ken?
First on here, it says material was provided in advance. Do we know where that material is that he provided? Except for just, because in here, the only thing for the backup is the states that don't participate, so do we know where any of that backup is, or was that the only backup we received?
That's the backup we had, I just got the invoice today.
Oh, okay, but there wasn't that, well, I wasn't looking at the invoice part, I was just looking at if that,
That was it.
Okay, and then a question for you, Ken. I know last month that in Reno, they had a meeting, like a 3-day meeting, with the BLM and the woman that's over the head of the Wild Burro and Horse, funding. And so in that, with that huge budget, do you know where they came out as far as dealing with what they're going to do with this population, overpopulation. Is anything going to move, or are we gonna be stagnant with these horses doubling in size every year or so? So where are we? Because we haven't seen anything happening, and we haven't heard from the BLM if they're going to have any roundups or what they're doing. So do you know anything from that meeting, what they decided?
Well, I don't know specifically from that meeting, but as you know, the training facilities they're overflowed with animals in those facilities, and that's one of the reasons the budget's so high. And the adoption program is not working like it was intended, because there are people who want a horse, but they don't understand the cost of keeping one horse. And so a lot of those animals are being turned back on public land.
So we're no further now than we were before, as they basically are eating the grasses to dirt, and so the people who have the grazing rights are still out.
Right.
And so we're not getting absolutely nowhere with them and the roundups or anything else done. And so we're just, instead of taking 2 steps forward, we're taking 4 steps back, and damage is continuing to where those grasses won't even come back because they've been eaten to the ground, where cattle don't do that, but the horses do.
So there's a lot of effort to encourage number reduction and a variety of ways. The reproduction type of thing, they would like to do more in that regard. But the animal advocates don't want to see any type of thing, seems like any type of thing used to have a better control of numbers. And there's a lot of resource damage.
Well, not
on the
only
land.
that, the animals are starving to death because they have eaten themselves out of house and home, and so the animals are they're, besides being inbred, they're starving, and so no one's winning. But the people who paid for these grazing rights are losing, and
Yes.
so I find that disgusting that we're no better off now than we were 2 years ago discussing the same issue. So and I saw that they had that 3-day meeting summit in Reno, and we're supposed to be trying to solve some of these issues, and wanted to know if you had heard anything about anything on that.
But anything new, I don't.
Thank you.
And that's unfortunate. I don't know what else can be done other than implement some of these approaches to control reproduction. That is the one thing that would be valuable, but there's a lot of opposition out there, as you're well aware, and so I've gone to a lot of those board meetings, or twice a year, and I talk about some things and occasionally get booed. Well, I don't mind the boo, but I just like to approach things in a decent way to try to improve the program. There's room on the public land for the program, but the AMLs are not controlled. So I don't know what else they can do other than just continue to try to implement things that would help improve the program, reduce numbers, and lack the resource damage on the public land. Like you say, the vegetation goes, not only what's on the surface, but the roots go too.
Right.
And so,
Thank you, Ken.
You're
Are there any
welcome.
other questions for Ken? Is there any public comment or questions from the public for Ken? Okay, well, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Commissioners. Good to see you. Have a good day. Thanks for the little light reminder, though.
Okay, we'll move into item 6, presentation and update by Sheldon Mudd with NNRDA and Battle Mountain Hydro LLC regarding environmental statement and overall progress of Battle Mountain Hydro LLC. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning. I'm just gonna stand because I'm gonna let these gentlemen take control. All right. Mr. Chair, Commission, good to be here again this morning. Seems like I've seen you guys a lot lately, so I guess that's a good thing because there's things going on. We're happy to report that there's been a lot of activity with Battle Mountain Hydro in the last couple of months. And one of the biggest things is the fact that they've secured some more partners, one of those being Hughes Energy, and we're lucky enough to have the CEO of that organization, a company here this morning, Mr. Dane McSpedden, and he's going to be providing you some more detailed information about some of the plans that they have. And of course, we have, you've met Tyler Borsch and Chase Michael as well in the past, and so they're here with us. And I'll let you guys introduce your whole team, but I'll turn it over to them and see what they have planned for the area.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Borsch. We've all met before. It's a pleasure to be back. Thanks for having us. So we wanted to introduce some more members of our team. So we've brought Redstone Capital along, as well as one of our partner companies, Hughes Energy. So I'd like to introduce Dane McSpedden so he can give a presentation about the Hughes Energy process and some more technology we want to bring to Battle Mountain.
Hi, my name is Dane McSpedden. I'm the CEO of Hughes Energy Group. We're a US-based company that is would like to introduce here into Nevada our proprietary technology that's been developed over the last 20 years in Europe. And we see a great opportunity here for us to bring it to Lander County and to Nevada. I think the best way to understand what our company does is we are a fiber production company. If I can share with you, this is the fiber that we produce. You can open it and smell it, it's inert, totally inert material. But our technology takes organic material, so food, paper, cardboard, yard waste, grasses, agricultural waste, meatpacking waste, and we put it into our technology, which is a steam-based technology, and it will transform all the organics, much like popcorn pops if you heat it up and it becomes something different. All of the organics turn into that fiber. Okay, so a banana peel and a cardboard box will turn out to be exactly the same fiber. We produce that fiber, which is a very valuable resource to recycle organic waste. And by recycling it, that fiber can be used in many downstream processes to produce green bioproducts. Okay, so it's what's called carbon negative bioproducts. What I like to start with is just explain what we believe we can bring to the community. The facility which we will look to invest in the community here is about a $200 million investment. Okay, it does provide, our building will provide, our system will provide over 40 full-time jobs. It actually could be greater than that. It depends on how we agree in the local community what exact process we would like to follow. We would have 150, and all of those jobs, by the way, typically pay above market prices. So we still have some work to do to understand the local labor environment, but we look to be an employer of choice in the communities we come to. There'll be 150 construction jobs for between 12 and 18 months to build our facility. We offer what's called a host community fee. There may be a different term in Nevada, but we will pay the community for every ton of material, waste material, which we process. We will pay a $1.25 fee per ton processed for the local community.
As a company, we believe very strongly in developing employees, developing young people to provide them jobs for the future. We offer annual scholarships to the local high schools for students that would like to go on and study environmental sciences or environmental engineering. We offer local scholarships. We also like to align with whatever the local trade schools are. We believe very strongly in apprenticeship and in providing continuing education for workforce to grow their abilities. You know, we know that because what we're presenting into this market has an opportunity to expand and grow, because there's so much waste in the United States, we are constantly developing the employees for the next plant. In order to create that fiber, there's a small, very simple, straightforward process. The raw material, which can be, like I said, the source separated food or organic material that's in standard garbage, we will take that into our building. Inside the building, the material is loaded into what's called an autoclave, which is our technology. It's 60 feet long, 10 foot high. A carbon steel vessel, a tube, looks like a little cement mixer. It gets pressurized to low temperature and pressure, 70 psi, and it does not burn or melt anything. It simply applies steam into the chamber like a pressure cooker, and that popcorn popping action will result after 45 minutes of being inside that vessel. After the 45-minute process, all the material is put onto the conveyor, and the conveyor then has an automated separation system that will ensure that all contaminants, so if there's any metal or plastic or glass in the material, that will get sorted out, so we'll be left with pure fiber. This is what the standard facility looks like. It's approximately 120,000 square foot. It's a modular system, so we would like to negotiate and discuss with the community. Can we put a double system in or a single system? But the building consists of 3 structures, connected but different purpose. The lower left-hand building, 40,000 square foot, is a building where the waste comes in. So whether it's garbage or just yard waste or food waste, that building is under what's called negative air pressure. So the air gets sucked in the building to make sure that no odor or anything will come out of the building. So everything is done indoors. The second building, the middle building, which is also 40,000 square foot, is the steam process building. That's where our technology sits, and what our technology consists of are steam boilers, which then create steam. This autoclave that I mentioned, steam is injected into that, the conveyor systems, and that's pretty much the extent of our technology. We raise steam, create steam, by using natural gas boilers, or there is a small possibility to use electric boilers here. The top building, called the product building, which is also 40,000 square foot, is where that fiber is prepared for the end customer. And I'll go through a little bit what those customers look like, but how the customer wants the fiber presented, either in pellet form, in bags, in trailers, that's where that is packaged, and then it's shipped out by truck or rail to the customer. This is what the autoclaves look like. This is from a facility that we, our partners in England, the technology partners, built in Limerick, Ireland. And I think what I like to explain to people, that the entire process is indoors. You know, people, when they hear about waste processing, their initial thought is about an incinerator. Now, we don't burn anything, we don't melt anything. We're steam cleaning the waste, essentially. But everything happens inside. As you saw from the picture, it's like a warehouse-like building. Actually, we spent a lot of time on the materials so that it will blend in with the environment. We want it to be a very energy efficient building. That's part of our mission. So everything happens indoors. There are no odors that escape the facility. Okay, the material is not being brought in to store it for long periods of time. It's brought in and processed as quickly as we can process it. The facility will operate 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, so we're constantly processing the material so that we turn it into that inert fiber, which has no smell to it, and get it out the door. The system is entirely closed, so you have no major emissions. The only emissions are really from the natural gas boilers, if we use natural gas. Water is only used to clean the boilers, boiler blowdown, and what's called the reverse osmosis system, which is the water cleaning system that we use when we recycle the water within the system. So the steam is constantly being recycled, the water is constantly being recycled in as much as possible. The company that has produced this technology has been around and producing steam technology for over 40 years. Okay, the autoclave technology has been around since the 1880s. In the United States in 1940, the first application of autoclaves for processing organic waste material was done in Alabama. That was the first place known in the world to use autoclave technology in waste. Autoclaves have been used and are used every day in the United States, over 10,000. Every industry that processes a tire, that creates a tire, it has to go into an autoclave. Any concrete block has to go through an autoclave, usually in railroad cars. Any composite material, so a ballistic armor, Boeing has the largest autoclaves in the world. The tails of the 777, 787, the wings go into an autoclave to take the carbon material and process it. So most people don't realize how widespread autoclaves are. But the company that we're allied with, our sister company, has produced over 16 industrial autoclave plants around the world for multiple industries, including waste, and over 25 major industrial steam process plants. And if you look at this, you'll see some of the companies here that they work for, Dunlop Rubber, Campbell's Foods, Nestle, Fruit of the Loom. So they work with a lot of multinational companies, and many of them on more than one plant. As I said, the fiber is almost a wonder material. The fiber is very high in sugar content because you can imagine the food and cardboard, they have energy content in them. Sugar being energy, we can use this fiber to produce many additional products. So recycled cardboard, instead of recycling cardboard over and over again, we can add our fiber in and reduce the need to cut down trees. The cardboard that's made from recycled cardboard that's made with our fiber is stronger than standard recycled cardboard and has a better compression strength. We can make fuel pellets out of it. In Europe, they use 14 million tons a year of wood pellets, most of which are shipped from the United States. We're cutting down vast areas of forest to feed this. Our pellets are a good substitute for those wood pellets. So again, you're saving forest, you're saving the need to cut down trees, and you're recycling organic material. Where we think the most exciting area is for this part of the country and for the United States is the production of biofuels. So whether we talk about bioethanol that's used in cars or trucks, whether we talk about sustainable aviation fuel, which is next generation aviation fuel, or green hydrogen, these things are in huge demand in the United States. We partner with companies that take our fiber and they make the fuels. And that's one application we think that could be very good here in Lander County. The company we partner with, take our fiber and make hydrogen, is a U.S. company called Babcock & Wilcox. They're out of Columbus, Ohio. It's a 150-year-old company, New York Stock Exchange listed. They have invested over $275 million over the last 20 years into this technology. They've ramped up from a lab scale 25 years ago to production scale, which they're implementing in the United States today. Excellent company, very heavy engineering, very well worked out. We've been working with them for a couple of years on fine-tuning their process, which is, again, no combustion. It's called a chemical looping process. So they use a chemical reaction to take that fiber and make it into green hydrogen and what's called green carbon dioxide, which can be used for industrial purposes or can be sold to make methanol, which is what we're discussing making with Tyler's company. Babcock and Wilcox, they call it Bright Loop, is the name of their technology, and this just gives you an idea of how long and how their investment has gone from lab scale up to production commercialization scale. And like I said, they've worked with Ohio State University is their technology partner over the last 25 years. I won't bore you with the details, but you know, their expert there is groundbreaking in the world in what he's been doing. They have a lot of experience in doing this, and it's worked consistently super well. Our plant operations, again, very few to no emissions. The emissions are really from the natural gas boilers. In the United States, they have something called Title V air permit. We're 82% below the threshold of what we would need for Title V air permit. We work with the local equivalent of the Department of Environmental Protection in Nevada to discuss what kind of monitoring they want. But much like a boiler that goes into a school or a small office building, that's all we have here. It's not a major industrial boiler. Odor control, all operations are indoors, like I said. The building has been designed with a very heavy biological filtration system, so you're not going to get odor creation. Water, the plant uses up to 40,000 gallons of water per day, which is what two average-sized swimming pools hold. That's our daily use of water. The water that goes from the boiler blowdowns is classified in jurisdictions as sink water, essentially. It can go directly into a sewer. And in terms of noise, consistent testing of our facilities, the noise is the sound levels at the property line is somewhere between a whisper and a quiet office, so somewhere around 40 decibels. In terms of jobs, as I said, over 40 full-time jobs are created, above market. The plant is highly automated, so as you can see, there's not a lot of what we would call manual labor positions. They're really more operators, mechanics, engineers, supervisors, and management. So a lot of these positions will take them and train the people. If possible, we'd like to work with the local trade schools to help train people up front, and then continuing education so someone can move in and be a laborer, then become an operator, then become a supervisor, and then become management. That's kind of our goal as a company. If you look at hydrogen, which is what we're looking to produce at the facility, green hydrogen is in huge demand in the United States right now. The federal government, state governments are giving incentives to organizations and companies to create green hydrogen, which is a very good fuel of the future, very clean. The technology with Babcock and Wilcox and ours fits very well together in terms of size, in terms of production capability, and it can be expanded modularly. So we would look to start working together with you guys, show you everything we can do, and then continue to expand the facility if that's something that you guys would allow. So again, we see this as a win-win for the community. Job creation, investment, really green technology of the future. There will be many delegations that will come here to see this facility as well. Okay, we are introducing our products into the United States right now. They've been deployed in Europe. We're working on projects right now in Virginia, Florida, Pennsylvania, and New York. But Nevada would be a tremendous opening for the West Coast of the United States. So we would welcome the opportunity to answer your questions and certainly to discuss at greater length how we can work together on this.
I have a question for you, Tyler. We had a meeting, you and I and Bert and Sheldon, and I'd asked a question that was the hydrogen energy that was going to be produced going to be energy that could be sold to the grid where Lander County citizens could benefit from that, but I was told no, that it'd be shipped off. So I'm a little bit unclear because in the backup, that's the statement under 3.6.2. It says that basically providing consistent, reliable, clean energy to the residents of Battle Mountain and exportation to other counties. So is that what's going to occur with this plan, or is it not?
So the ability to export power comes down to kind of the demand and the supply curves. So our ability to take the renewable energy and put it directly into the grid doesn't match the demand curve of Battle Mountain residents here. That's why we'll take and turn it into a fuel. So we're going to be storing the energy. Another problem with just producing the renewable energy is if we put it into the grid, we have to use it right at the right time, or the time where it's generated, and the further it gets away, the less power you get at your source of demand. So by turning our energy we produce here into a fuel on site, then it can be burnt at any time in any place to provide power, whether it be here in Battle Mountain or to some of the power plants in the area that serve the grid. It takes away our need to supply the power at the moment we produce it.
Okay, so basically, this is a synergy of companies. Basically, we have a company that basically incinerates organic garbage and turns it, and from that fiber, you can then create hydrogen out of it. Is that correct? So
Yes, we don't incinerate anything, we steam.
steam. Sorry,
Steam
yeah, I
treat.
used the wrong word. So steam.
A lot of people are scared by
yes,
incinerating,
exactly.
they don't wanna burn anything, no, but yes, we compost it basically at high speed.
Compost it. So
One of the great things about it, and I know last time it came up, the storage of hydrogen on site, pressurized storage of hydrogen being kind of a risk. With the Hughes process, it not only produces hydrogen, but there's also CO2 that's generally sequestered. But in our process, we can combine it with the hydrogen to make a methanol, which is a benign fuel. It's more stable, it's not stored under pressure, so we don't have the same blast risk
Safer,
as
yeah.
storing a bunch of hydrogen in your backyard here.
Brian, I think you had a question, Brian, I'm sorry.
pardon?
I think you had a question, I think we kinda cut you off, I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, I was just. So you have Hughes Energy. They're the hydrogen producer. What's the name of your company?
Hughes Energy, we're Hughes Energy, yes.
You are Hughes Energy. So it's like there are different facets of that company.
There's two technologies I understand that will be on the site. One is taking solar power and producing hydrogen through a chemical process.
Okay.
And those tend to be very big projects, okay, so I think we're talking $600 million project. Ours takes organic waste material and we produce hydrogen as well. So there's two companies producing hydrogen, they're the same hydrogen, so they get combined, and we also produce carbon dioxide for industrial use. And so when you combine those, it's gonna be able to feed to make, as Tyler was saying, a methanol, which is much more stable.
So basically what you're looking at is using the steaming method to create the fiber to create the hydrogen versus the solar, because when you first presented to this commission, it was.
It's still solar as the main energy feed source. So the technology was based around natural gas boilers, but in this situation, we're going to electrify it with the solar and storage facility that's already planned. So it's
two
all,
technologies side by side, feed
Gotcha.
each other synergistically,
Okay.
so.
I got it.
You're absolutely right, one guy, they're creating solar power hydrogen, we're making fiber to make hydrogen using Babcock and Wilcox, and then there'll be a pipeline that connects them, and then the product will go
All right,
out.
thank you. You had stated that, so when you steam this stuff, and anything that does come up, metal, plastics, how is that waste handled within the facility?
Yep, it's first of all totally sanitized and sterilized. When it comes out of our system, everything's inert, sterile. So if you put in, a can with a label on it, it comes out perfectly pristine. Then it goes down the conveyor, and there's automatic separation system that will take the cans and put them here using what's called eddy current. Magnetic will take the metals, the steel over here, plastics go over there, glass goes over there, and then we sell those to recyclers.
Okay.
Okay, and if there's anything that's non-recyclable, which can be, depending on the source, can be up to 8 to 10%, that would get shipped out to a landfill.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, where are you getting the material to do this with?
So we are on the West Coast. There's a company called Recology that is basically the largest waste company from San Francisco to Oregon.
What was it called?
Recology.
Recology, okay.
So they're the big waste player on the West Coast. Right now, they send everything to landfill on the West Coast. We're discussing with them shipping it by rail on Union Pacific into our facility. So you're not gonna have trucks on the road. It'll be a rail car that brings in the waste into the building.
I have
thank you.
a question with, what about our trash, giving it to you? So
Yep.
we have a huge reduction in our landfill I think you had mentioned it by us basically are we selling it to you, which we can give it to you, but if we're gonna make money off it, I'd rather make money, obviously, but how about taking all of our trash from our communities?
It's very important for us to be a good local citizen and a local part of the community. We'll definitely work out a good method for you guys to bring your waste to us. The way the business model works, typically people pay us to give us the garbage. Depending on the volume you're talking about, we'll work out something that's beneficial to you.
And that's an interesting concept, of course, because we don't have anything recyclable here. But part of it's because we're kind of small. But I know in areas
Small and
where
beautiful.
yeah, right now, in areas that we do, and I visit, it's like you mentioned the cans. So I can still remember where we had to open both ends of the can, we had to take off the label, we had to wash it out, and then we give it to the recycle. So, I mean, are we gonna be stuck with anything like that at all locally, you don't think?
No, I mean, we would take, if you bring it to us, we're gonna sell it and take it away, to reuse it. I mean, you know, we're all about recycling things. Recycling the organics is one of the biggest things that hasn't been done in the world. Okay, there are some initiatives, there are some technologies. Everyone recycles cans, it's worth money. Everyone recycles steel and copper, everyone gets that. Plastics are a real struggle for people to recycle. 98% of plastic still goes to landfill in this country, despite everything we're doing. Our system will clean it, so you don't have to wash it or anything, and then we sell it off to recyclers. Some things are worth more than others, but we're looking ultimately for nothing to go back into the ground. I mentioned 8 to 10% still has to go. Leather, carpets, it's very hard to get rid of those, but ultimately we're looking for almost nothing to go into.
Okay, so to begin with, you've got your suppliers and they're gonna bring it in by rail, so as far as locally starting out, we won't be doing anything at all with you.
When we start out, you could certainly bring us the garbage as soon as we're operational.
Well, I mean, are we talking individuals driving up with a pickup truck, or are we talking garbage trucks? I mean, what do
We would
you
prefer
do?
garbage trucks, but let's just say that we've discussed with certain locations where we'll put drop-off locations, but you know, that's something we'll need to understand a little bit more about what you need.
Okay, because we have part of our county that we do have the huge big bins that they do bring up that already have the garbage in them to dump in our landfill. So we don't have, you know, the individuals, you have big bins coming in from the southern end of the county. So you said there's no smell or anything, but yet those big bins
Those smell.
certainly are. So
They're outside.
Do you, yeah, they're outside, so do you have something to hold that before, of course, you said 24 hours. I mean, you're open 24/7?
When it's dropped off, we're open, we operate 24/7. We usually only allow whatever local code allows, but typically shipments coming in or going out are only during working hours. So you want to minimize transportation, traffic, noise. You know, the noisiest thing about our facility are trucks coming in and going. You know, those are noisy. Everything else happens inside. So to answer your question, if anyone brings it into our building, there's no odor. If they leave it outside, there's going to be odor.
How is it handled, because you're having garbage shipped in on the rail? I mean, how do you know that there's no like major contaminated garbage that you're receiving? If you do receive like chemicals, things like that, how do you handle that in your plant? Where does that stuff go?
There's an entire operating procedure. First of all, it's not allowed by the contract, nor is it allowed by the Department of Environmental Protection or the Department of Environmental Conservation. Things happen, things show up, right? So the way the process works is the trailers are brought into the building, they're dumped on a tipping floor where they're spread out by, you know, some of the labor that's there spreads it out. And if they, first of all, there's radiological, you know, detectors to make sure there's no radioactive material, X-rays or, you know, other things people stupidly put in. They'll pull out anything that's not supposed to be there. Car engines, tires, you know, toasters. And if they saw any paint cans or chemicals, those are set to the side. If the load is contaminated by contract, the waste company has to take it back.
Okay.
So it's a combination of law, contracts, and then what people see on the ground. If things happen, you know, we'll deal with them in a.
Yeah, we have to vet the safety to our community, you know, so it's like I think that's where we're most concerned.
Critical.
So, any other questions? Does our public have any questions for?
I have one.
Yeah.
Council Director. So the facility comes in.
Come on up, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry. So just a question. a formal risk assessment at a pretty extensive level should be done for the commissioners to be able to review. Is that something in the plans where you really look at, example, smell, different things, chemicals coming in? Those are some risks, but what are the controls? And you've mentioned a few, but I think they could go quite a bit more extensive with just not knowing anything about this, but I don't have all the context. But do you plan on doing a formal risk assessment for the board to really understand what are the risks associated with this plant and facility for the town, and what are the controls that you're going to control them with? And I know that would make even me, in my role as a building official, and being able to, think this through, which is minimal. I'm on the build side, but I'm just thinking before we get too far down the road, what are the real risks for the community? And that would be done through a formal risk assessment. Do you have plans for that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a formal environmental review process and risk assessment manual, we submit manuals, risk management plans, mitigation plans, disaster recovery plans. All that part will be submitted according to the processes that you guys lay out and that we follow. I mean, we're always looking for.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Okay.
Got a
Oh,
question.
yes.
Lamont Edgar. The questions, I have three questions. The first question will be for your group. Now, the 40,000 gallons a day, that's separate from what the hydrogen plant will be taking out of the ground?
Correct.
Okay. The question I have is, what is the plan when this negatively impacts the people of the Hilltop area? Because these two companies and these two plants are being put on approximately 933 acres, correctly, if I read it right,
939, yeah.
in our backyard. And there's, while I do see the creation of jobs is a fantastic thing for the community. The taxes that'll be raised, fantastic thing. Little bit of incentives for the community, a little bit under $500,000 per year. But when I see something of stored energy, autoclaves, conveyors, creation of dust, stored hydrogen in our, what are the positive impacts for the people of Hilltop? Because right now, when a business like the Golden Gate Petroleum comes in and they service the people of Hilltop, that's a positive. That's a positive impact for the people of Hilltop. What is the positive impact for the people of Hilltop for these two companies?
So I can speak to Hughes Energy. I mean, the positive impact is, as I mentioned, in terms of processing, it's setting up a business, it's creating jobs, and remember, when you talk about 40 full-time jobs at our plant, the U.S. Department of Labor says that for a light industrial facility, for every job of full-time you create, there's 3 to 4 jobs in the community that are created to support that. So the 40 jobs becomes 120 to 160. So job creation, above market rate salaries, working with the schools for scholarships and training and apprenticeships, that's one group of things. We also think bringing a green technology to the local market will create a lot of visitors as well, a lot of good buzz. In terms of Tyler's project, I'll let you speak to that, but to me, it's creating, again, green energy, solar energy, how that gets impacted in the community if the local utility will allow local sales to the community, that's there, and then certainly tax base, et cetera. I mean, the water, 2 swimming pool size amounts per day is water, especially in a location like this. We recycle as much as we can. It's a minimal impact on the community, so from our side, we look at it as becoming partners in your community, becoming local citizens.
Now, I do see that as a minimal impact on the community, but it's a big impact on the residents of the Hilltop area, as you guys all well know, we've had one good year of precipitation in 10 years. A lot of residents' wells are already starved. Just my personal well has dropped about 20% in the last 7 years. So, you can see where our concern is, where you're pulling 40,000 and another company is pulling X amount, and that's day in, day out. Mm-hmm. So my concern was, is there going to be a contingency plan if and when the people of Hilltop are negatively impacted by the removal of water?
So to touch on the water draw, first and foremost, the water that's gonna serve our projects is currently not potable water served to the residents anyways. So there's arsenic and some other contaminants in a few of the wells that have been decommissioned, and they're not serving the residents now. We're gonna recommission and clean that water up. So not only are we not tapping into your sources, we're cleaning up the contaminated water that already exists here. And like Dane said, a lot of it can be recycled through the process. Water electrolyzed split into hydrogen, although not immediately recyclable, will add to the precipitation cycle because the emission is pure oxygen vented into the atmosphere, eventually recombining and coming back as precipitation. So not as immediately recyclable, but in the grand scheme does recycle back through, and we're cleaning up the bad stuff that's there now. So in the future, with the water being recycled, if there's any draw, at least what's down there now will be cleaned up.
Okay. I would expect during the formal risk assessment that there would be a certain monitor of a water table that we would foresee any problems with the hilltop area. I'm assuming that'll be on the formal risk assessment.
We'll do whatever the community requests of us for sure.
Thank you.
Lamont, thank you for your questions. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Lamont. So one thing that I recommended, and I'd like the board to be aware of, is that, we do have our rail park that we're trying to put in down there that's right next door to our sewer plant that has over 300,000 gallons a day of treated water effluent that we kick out to the settling pond there, that may be water they could use without pulling from our system, and put that whole thing down there where the trash is coming off the rail, it's downwind from our community. It may be beneficial as a whole. So hopefully these guys are considering that, and that's something that, I'd like the community to be aware of. We are trying to offer them other solutions to not put them out in the middle of Hilltop. Understand that everybody driving by there's a lot of truck traffic is one of our concerns. When they came before the building department, said, hey, there's gonna be trucks going from the rail wherever they're dropping this trash through our community and offloading there. It's currently a 2-lane road that we already have, we have an overpass there that, you come up on people really quickly when they're entering that fuel station. So, them were some of our concerns, and hopefully they consider them.
We're very interested in using the rail yard and finding that solution, because we want to minimize any traffic in the community. Everything that can be done by rail should be, and if we can figure out how to use that rail yard, we would like to do that.
And hopefully our water as well, because it's already, we're already paying the pumping costs at that point, and the treatments and everything else, so.
And the solids that are left over from that, we can actually process that.
Well, it might save us even.
As long as local regulations allow it, which most states do, we would look to process that and include that in our fiber.
And that was the thing too, if you recall back, when we were talking with our rail strategist that was helping us with this rail part, we would need a flagship company. They very well could be our flagship company, that other industries and businesses come in and formulate. So this big rail yard idea that we have could really turn into something, so I'm kind of excited.
I think it's a great idea. When I heard about it, I was very excited. It's very forward thinking of you to do that. I mean, rail is way underutilized in this country, and I like to see it coming back.
With your pictures in your building, I just had one quick question on the landscaping, because I didn't really see any of that. I saw the beautiful building, but like, do you do trees and landscaping and lots of trees?
Typically we do.
Included?
I need to understand what grows locally here, but yes, we typically do berms and trees where we can. I love trees, so why not?
I mean, we can always make it conditional, but the trees are so important, so, and I'm an arbor fan, so.
Me too.
If you, can include that with some of it, that sounds wonderful.
That's why I want to make sure we would cut down fewer of them and use our fiber instead, so that's what we're pushing all the time.
True. One of the big things on the rail yard that we've talked about was bringing in industry, the flag company, because of mining. And so we're not so dependent on net proceeds, and not only that, the tax base, because as far as building homes and things like that, the homes are depreciating, so the tax base that we're receiving off that are going down, and we have to do something, because we've seen anyone who's been here when we had the recession, it turned to dust. because we had nothing from, net proceeds in our entire community, everything from this courthouse to the sheriff's department, to our rec center, to our golf courses, all basically, we utilize net proceeds to help pay for this stuff, and I just think that, there are people who don't like to see things grow, but what happens is you turn into nothing if you don't have something to sustain you, and net proceeds is not going to always sustain us. And so I'm somebody's environmentalist as far as that it's very exciting to me for the fact that I don't use plastic bags, because there's an island off the coast of California that is literally 100 miles long of plastic bags that have gone into the drains and clogged together, and all the wildlife and things that it kills. So any time that we can recycle anything, because we can't get any recycling here because of the expense of, they've tried it here locally to get it hauled off or whatever, you have none. And so that is a huge plus as far as, all these other hurdles have to be done, but the fact that we can recycle locally and the other communities, I'm sure, around us, Elko and Winnemucca and things like that, would be happy to do it. So anytime we can get rid of the plastics and our footprint that we've horribly left here is wonderful, so.
I couldn't agree more. And if I can also add, one thing I didn't put into the presentation is that I understand affordable housing for workers can be an issue in the area, and we have, the majority owner of Hughes Energy, his base business is general contracting construction. And, I talked to him on the way over here, and he said, you can tell them that we would be happy to build some workforce housing as part of our project, affordable for the workers that are there. I mean, obviously we need to work out all the details with your community, but he's big into that. We've offered that down in Florida, near Miami, where we're looking at a site where they need workforce housing, people can't afford it. So that's something we'd be looking at as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Anybody else from your team that'd like to say anything, or?
Yeah, what are you gonna do with Michael Hinton?
Yes.
Hi.
What are you gonna do with the RO reject? Is it going to an evap pond?
Excuse me?
Reverse osmosis reject?
Yep, that typically is going into the sewer system or being disposed
Okay,
of.
because you mentioned arsenic and this, that, and the other.
No, that has to be manifested out of here into an appropriate disposal facility.
Well, I was just wondering if you were gonna utilize filter presses or something of that nature to solidify it and landfill it or whatever.
It goes manifested to a disposal site that's licensed to handle that
Okay.
kind of.
Because I don't know what recovery you run, but if it's 75%, 25% is undesirable.
Yeah, but from the reverse osmosis, there's very little waste, but it does have to be manifested.
It's a percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're running 100 gallons through an RO at 75% recovery, you put 25 gallons in concentrate.
Right.
You can't beat the math. I don't care about little.
No, that's true.
My other concern was, have we done anything to look at, it is hydrogen, guys, and it has special problems. Do we have an impact report on whether we need to expand fire and EMS in a worst case scenario? Everybody's careful, things happen, and we all know how much static electricity exists in Nevada. One leak, one mistake may mean nothing, or it could be catastrophic. Is this far enough away from schools and residences? These are very real concerns. Mm-hmm. So has an impact been done, a potential impact?
We're just at the very
We're at the
beginning of this.
very beginning of it, so.
We haven't even gotten that far yet.
I've only recently found out about this, and I'm not even certain as to the physical location. Like you, I am interested in economic diversity, but responsibly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
But you're using electrolysis, and you're using a
Chemical looping system.
Yeah. Autoclave.
Yes.
But and you're just venting the oxygen to atmosphere. You have no intention of selling compressed gas.
No intention of selling the oxygen, no. Okay. It's uneconomic to capture the oxygen and move it anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, we've studied that.
I'm sure you have. But anyway, that's my concern, because we are a small community. And in catastrophic failure, what is the blast zone?
Yeah.
And do we have enough to, you know, okay, the little thing goes off in the bedroom and you run to the station and you go, oh my, are we capable of handling something like that?
Well, we're not gonna have a lot of hydrogen hanging around because it's gonna be converted to methanol. So there's
We're not
not
storing
gonna
it.
be storage of hydrogen. We're essentially the same thing because of insurance purposes.
Yeah.
So we, you know,
But also
we don't want the Hindenburg here.
I am a Hilltop resident and I am concerned about water usage. I worked 20 years at the power plant and they were using 5,000 gallons a minute, 24/7, 365.
Wow.
Up to, depending upon load, to keep the cooling towers, you know.
Well, maybe we can bring this water from the sewer plant.
That would be, that was a fantastic,
It is.
that looks like a real opportunity.
Very good idea because.
That looks like a real opportunity.
Get your name for the record if you don't
Oh, my name is Andrew Levy from Redstone Capital. One of the bankers for both of these companies.
And my
In fact, I put them
last-
together. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I
Sorry,
started
we
as an
just need
engineer
that
and
for
a lawyer, so I have a background as an engineer, also a lawyer, but spent my entire career in technical projects like this, or defense projects. So, this is what I'm doing right now.
And my last question, is this something that the commission approves or does this go on a docket for a public vote?
No, I believe it'd be something the commission would approve. I don't think it would require
Well,
a public vote, so.
ignorant of those procedures. It's a learned skill, but
Right.
I haven't learned it.
You wouldn't wanna know how many I haven't learned yet, so I still talk to my wife, so.
Thank you for your question, John. Are there any other questions? Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a 15-minute break. We'll continue with item 7.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Okay, you're good.
Are you sure?
Ready? Item 7, for discussion and possible action on questions and concerns regarding the advisory boards in Lander County.
All righty, Commission, I was the one who put this on here. The reason I put this on here is because Commissioner Sparks was approached in Austin, and there were some, what I call whisper campaign, which seems to be one of the things that goes on a lot here in our community. And it definitely doesn't team build, and it doesn't make us any better. But the accusations were that, that we're self-serving and that we aren't doing what's best for our advisory boards, myself and my staff. So I figured I'd put this as an agenda item. I would like to welcome anybody from the advisory boards that if we can better somewhere, we want to better it, but we want to do it openly. And we want to do it honestly. If we're short-serving them somewhere, we want to make sure that we address that. And just in putting this item on the agenda, I was speaking with Colt and his team, and they said, hey, we went to the last meeting, and one of the members said we didn't even know we had a new member. How are we going to get noticed? I'm like, I've never even thought about how do we notice our boards that they get new members. We get the letter of interest. We put it on the agenda for approval, and that's what we do. We've never really taken the next step. So there's clearly areas for improvement. Now we're taking, and just recently, while we were sitting in this meeting earlier today, I got a letter of interest. So we will be forwarding that on to all the current sitting members of that board, and then we'll let them know when that meeting is going to take place, so they can either submit comments in writing, not comment at all, or show up and speak to it directly, and then we'll notice the board of the commission's decision once it's final. But them are some areas that we can improve. I don't feel that it's fair to my staff, myself, or this commission for some of these whisper campaigns to go out to say that anybody's self-serving or not trying to do what's in the best interest of the county when we aren't willing to sit down in front of everybody here and discuss this openly and try to better this as a whole. So that's what this item's on the agenda for today, and hopefully it brings up some good conversation that leads to some improvements if we can get any, and we've already got one.
Well, I'll lead into it. So I had gotten with Bert because I had overheard a conversation. I'm not going to mention any names. It was a member that sits on a board, And he had expressed some concerns that basically the board that he sat on is for naught, because the commission just makes the decision, they're gonna do whatever they wanna do. And I kinda took offense to it, and I just told him that I would look into it and I'd get to the bottom of it, because I, for one, do appreciate our advisory boards. That's why I had told Bert, and Bert's solution was to put it on the agenda so we could discuss it. So anyway, that's why we're here. So is there any discussion, anything anybody would like to say, or?
Is it more just that they didn't feel taken, or was there a point to this discussion?
Yeah, so basically the board, I'm not gonna mention the name, but the board was the planning commission. They said that basically the planning commission makes these decisions, and basically we don't accept them, we just do what we're gonna do anyway. And I said, well, that's not the case, and I had talked to Mr. Monty Price yesterday, and he had informed me that there's only been one time in the past that this commission didn't accept the planning commission's recommendation, which we have that a power to do. So I'm not sure why this person was so disgruntled, but I just felt it only appropriate to, like I say, not to have any whisper campaigns, to put it right here on a public record so we can discuss it and just make sure that we're being transparent, so.
Well, we still do have some very active advisory boards, and I consider that our eyes and ears
Yes,
out there.
absolutely.
That's our input from,
Yes.
and these people are volunteer. I mean, they're always really appreciated, and we probably never tell them enough. But I don't know, I mean, how we could possibly know everything. That's what we have advisory boards for. And when they come before us with ideas, I think we've been very open. I mean, we wouldn't even know what to do sometimes with no
Yes.
input from them.
I think there might have been some confusion around because we've recently started, when we had our engineer of record for Lander County working with their planning department, and they bring staff recommendations, so I don't know if they felt like that was the recommendation, but it's not, it's just one facet of us trying to do what's proper and right for our county, so. But yeah, if anybody has anything to say, would like to speak, has any questions, that's what this is on the agenda for, so. Yes, Mark.
Good morning, Bryce. And if there was something said about, well, there was something said, because I said.
Would you turn the mic on?
The mic. About new board members, and that was me, I brought up the Colt, because we had new board members, it's happened numerous times, and you walk in, there's just somebody new sitting at the table, like, gee, it'd be nice to have a heads up that, hey, you have a new board member coming, instead of they have to walk in and introduce themselves, hey, I'm your new board member. It'd be nice if the board as a whole, or at least the chair of that board would know, say, hey, yeah, we'd like to welcome so-and-so. So that would be a courtesy, and I know it's not required, not a requirement on your part to let us know, but it certainly would be a courtesy.
No, I think
It's the
absolutely-
least we could do.
Yes.
And I apologize that we hadn't been doing that in the past. Like I said, I didn't even think of it. It was just one of them
Yeah.
deals that I don't.
Yeah,
We just-
that would be nice if the boards knew when they had new members on. And as far as all the staff reports that we get now, to me, that don't bother me. It's because that's their report to us, and in my opinion, they're advising us just like we advise you. We can take their recommendation or not. And then we pass our recommendation to you guys. You can take our recommendation or not. So it's just another step in the process, and that staff report does not bother me. It's nice for us to look at, and it's nice that you guys also see it. So if they have one recommendation and the commission has a different recommendation, at least you get to see both sides of it.
Right,
Anyway, that's all I've got on that, and it was,
thank you.
I was just curious when I seen it on the agenda that, okay, what are we doing today? So, anyway, that's why I came, all I got, thank you.
Thank you, Monty.
Thank you.
And that might be another thing too, because there's a board that's recently had 3 members' terms expire, and I know there were letters that were turned into the office there in Austin, so I'm not sure why they're going to Austin, but do our boards know the line that, like, once a member's term expires, is there a set like line that they would follow or that they would know to like turn it into our administrative office if they want to be set? I was unclear like why it went to
So
Austin.
typically it's turned into the clerk or the administration office. Sometimes they do turn it into the secretary of their board, and that secretary will then move that along to the clerk or to the administration office. I have not got I need to reach back out to Michelle. I apologize, I didn't get that done. I know that you brought this to me yesterday and I didn't do it. But I need to reach out to Michelle and see where them letters are because I haven't received them yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think if anywhere we can strengthen those lines, just the flow of efficiency would benefit all of us, so.
You bet.
Hi, Jerry.
My name is Jerry Annis, for your records. I appreciate a couple of comments that I just heard. Patsy made the comment that board members are appreciated. That's great. I am currently not on any, I do not serve on any boards in the county. I have served on 3 in the past, and I attend a lot of board meetings because I like to know what's going on in the county. I was on my way to the Public Land Use Advisory Committee meeting Monday night and got word that it was canceled because 3 people, their terms had expired, so they didn't have a quorum. So Brian's point is very well taken. I guess my thought is, you know, someone should be in charge of notifying them 2 or 3 months ahead of time that their term is coming up, or the chairman of that board, that you have terms that are coming up, so that those letters can be written and submitted to the clerk or whoever you want them submitted to, the letters of interest to re-up their term. But there's one other thing that I wanted to say, and it's very much associated with what Patsy said, and that is, and I've visited with Commissioner Sparks about this. 2 things. One, because I go to a lot of meetings, and I know that all of you at various times go to these advisory committee meetings, but I go to a lot of advisory committee meetings that there's not a commissioner at, and I know that you can't be at all of them, but you know, maybe think about having a goal of having every commission or committee visited by a commissioner at least once a year, and tell them, and this is the last thing, tell them that they are appreciated. That means so much. If you tell the people that are volunteers, that are donating their time and their energy and their talent to the betterment of this community, they need to be told that they are appreciated. They need to be thanked. And I suggested to Brian that maybe once a year you have an appreciation dinner or picnic for them. You can afford it, I think. But you know, just make them feel welcome. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jerry.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a comment.
Yes.
So off of that, Jerry, also I've been on the commission started in January, so I guess I'm the newest member. Off of that, I've seen one committee come to the board. Otherwise, my opinion is it's simply to ask for money. Why don't we have, is there time, why can't some of these advisory commissions send a representative to this meeting here? Has to be put on the agenda and give us updates when you have the entire the entire board sitting here. I mean, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I haven't been to a meeting, I'll admit that. But, like I said, the forum is here and the dates are set, you know, to where these advisory boards can come and give a quick report of, hey, this is what, you know, we've been working on and so on and so forth. Then everybody in the public can, because they can watch the video, they can read the records, everything. You know, I think that point is a failure too. Is, you know, said I mean, we could try to attend and go to attend, but I mean, also responsibility falls on their board chair could come and easily report out what's going on.
Yeah, Jerry.
Jerry again. Mike, great point. One way to address that would just be
send them an invitation.
Can he come?
We would like, the board would like, or the commissioners would like a presentation from, your group, at the August meeting.
So I think our county manager said it perfectly, there's room for improvement, and it's just, that's what this whole thing is about, is so we can have intelligent discussion to bring about, like, to make our advisory boards and the way that we operate the best that they can be, so I think these are all some great ideas, so, is there any other questions, comments?
I would like to send each advisory board an invitation to come present here to the commission, and then see if during them presentations, we don't identify some more weaknesses, so we can, we can kind of shore them up and make it better.
Okay. Sounds like a
If the
great idea.
commission's okay with that.
So we just put this agenda on again and then invite them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just asking for.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, perfect. All right. If there's no more, we'll move on. Item 8 for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the proposal for a county employee survey with Lander County and CPS HR Institute for the Public Sector Employee Engagement.
So CHOP asked for an update. I didn't have an update because I didn't have this survey engagement yet. So in your backup, that engagement is there. This is the request of the board for an employee survey. So you guys give me direction and.
So is this outfit, so that was one of the concerns that the people that voted for it had, was the anonymity, was just, being anonymous, that somebody could speak and share their concerns and it could not get back to any commission or any staff member.
Correct. So the way the other counties did it, they actually had a team, a group of people that was getting all the feedback. The way I have set this up, it is actually, I am the contact person. So anything that they get comes to me, and when the survey is complete, that survey will then be submitted to you guys in a meeting, and you'll be able to read the survey report. But not everything will be kept anonymous, at least on my side.
Okay. Are there any questions? Questions?
I still have concerns with paying that, even though I've gone back and forth on this and thinking of, that amount of money, for.
And that is the minimum. If I opted for any of these options in here, there are additional
no, I know,
large
they're
costs
huge.
to all the options.
And the minimum is 12,200.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and I respect that. It's not, I keep going back and forth in my head because, being an employee at the sheriff's office for 30 years and issues that came up back and forth. And if employees aren't happy, trying to see both sides of it. And I struggle with, the fact that there's the option of the union, where you have a union rep that can help you, and if you have an issue with HR with you, they can ask their union rep to go with them to HR for that extra protection if they're afraid to report something that they have seen, or there's something that they don't feel is right going on with them, and that's what they pay their dues for. And I don't know if I've been out of the loop long enough, and maybe I'm seeing things differently, but and this isn't about me, but for an example, when I tried to come to this commission when our prior sheriff was embezzling money, not one person on the commission would listen to me, not one. Did me absolutely no good to do that, and it wasn't even, the only thing that I was told at that time, I was nothing but a pot stirring person. And the sheriff at that time, basically when I said that I turned him in, said I was fired, well, I knew a little bit more about the system, and that didn't happen. And so I figured out a resource to be able to make my complaint, to make somebody listen to me. And they, obviously he went to prison for that, but I fought and fought and fought and tried and used resources. And it should never have to be that bad, obviously, but if somebody has an issue in this county because we pay wonderful benefits, we have good wages, all those things, that's what the ground floor of having a union rep and having HR. If they're afraid of Liz and don't like the way she does it, take your union rep. Even if you're not paying your dues, you're still covered under the union rep, and utilize it that way. And this, I feel, is getting in where I've gotten myself in trouble 100 times since I've been a commissioner, getting involved in day-to-day operations, and have got my hand slapped for it. And I'll admit it, I mean, but I turn myself in, I don't wait till somebody else turns me in. When I think I've done something, I turn myself into the ethics board and they slap me. But I just think when you get involved in day-to-day operations, we're never going to have anybody use the system if we try to do things this way. We have to have them utilize the system and the people that we're paying or they're paying to find out if there are issues. And that's,
So I'll add that 12,000, and what is it, 12,200? That, we pay that regardless whether the employees partake or not. It is not mandatory, it is an option. And if they do not want to do the survey, they do not have to. So we can do this, and we have approximately 140 to 150 employees. If only 5 of them partake, we're still paying that.
That's true, and it would not be successful if only 5 partake by all means. But first of all, Commissioner, this isn't a grievance. This isn't what we're doing. You outlined what we do for grievances. That's a whole different matter. It isn't like, I have a problem with my coworker, or I have a problem with my supervisor, whatever. That's not what this is. This is a survey that's actually determining the future of what we may be doing for them and putting it together. And if you look at some of the places that have done it, it's again, you're asking for input. And I think that's important.
And I agree with you, Patsy. It is to kind of look and see how Lander County is to their employees. That's how it's proposed, but that's not how it happens, because I did see the surveys from other counties that did it, and their feedback was not that. It was basically them complaining about employees or department heads.
Wouldn't that depend on the way you phrase a question? And
I took their exact survey. So this survey is the same one that went to another county.
So that was.
It just depends on how they say
That
it.
was part of my concern when we first voted on it. We're at this point because it was a majority to continue on with it. I wasn't in favor of it. For number one, I thought it was a unnecessary expense because exactly what Kathy says, I feel it's more delving into day-to-day, because you do have an HR, you do have a union rep. What concerns me is it's exactly that. It's like it takes people that have a grievance or they have a complaint that don't want to come forth through the proper channels to express that. They just rather whisper it or this or that and cause further problems. Well, this type of thing gives those people a voice, and I think I've seen it. You know, you might have 100 people surveyed, 5 people complain, and the emphasis is put on the complainers, not necessarily the majority of what we're doing right, which would be 95% of what we're doing is right. So it's like, that's why I wasn't in favor of it, and I was in favor of encouraging our employees that if they're disgruntled about something, they're not happy about something, I even put in like the idea of the suggestion box or just something like that. I still am not in agreement of spending $12,200 on this, but.
when Robert tried, and I know nobody likes SurveyMonkey, but regardless, he tried that over there, and the people, and what ended up happening, and the people that were happy with their jobs, nobody said anything. And that's just, because I was one of them, I didn't have any problems, so I'm not gonna take the time to write anything down, which is shame on me. I mean, you should say, hey, they're wonderful, but it's like, yeah, I'm good, I don't need to go on and take the time to do that. However, the ones that weren't happy with whatever, took it, and I'm not saying that's how it happens all the time, but I'd like to survey a room to say how many actually that love their job and are happy with their job, which I was, because I was treated very well and didn't have issues. Raise your hand if you're gonna take a survey about, I would be amazed if everybody in the room that loved their job raised their hand. And that is a lot of money for the taxpayers to pay if, I just don't think we're gonna get the information back that's gonna tell us, navigate us to what we can do better. I think that I just thinking there's got to be a less expensive way to figure that out, because I just think that you're not going to have everyone across the board fill it out good, bad, or indifferent. And I struggle with that, and I know I've bounced back and forth, which I'm famous for, and I'm sorry for that, but I've read it, and it just, I struggle.
Okay, well, I originally asked for this because I've seen it in the private sector so often, and it's been very successful. So I I will bow to my fellow commissioners. I mean, I think it's important because I think it creates loyalty, it creates the interest that we as your commissioners really care about our county employees, and we care about your input, and we want to improve retention, and we're here for you, and we're actually saying we appreciate you, so why don't you tell us what you have as far as ideas. But like I said, if you really feel it's not going to work, the people are not going to respond, and you know, I mean, let's face it, the heavy amount of people that we have are in the Battle Mountain area, and you know them better than I do, unfortunately. But I will bow if you truly think this is going to be a big negative and you don't want to do it. But I think the 12,000 is a drop in the bucket for telling our employees how important we think they are and their input. That's all.
Thank you, Patsy. Bert, did you have?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to surveying. The one thing that I am opposed to is a bulk survey that has everybody in one bucket, because I think a lot of the community confusion is that these employees are all under one umbrella, when reality is that they report to these elected officials, and some of these disgruntled employees are reporting to an elected official that we have no say over, even though they follow our policy. And that's not our problem. I would just like, if we're gonna do this, to make sure that we delineate out departments so we know where we are within each. Because I don't think that it's a fair survey, because I've had people come to me and say, oh, so-and-so is so pissed, and I don't know what you're doing down there, but it's not very good. And I go, well, that individual doesn't work for me. They work for an elected official, so they need to take that up with their boss, who's an elected official. That has nothing to do with anything under our umbrella. And oftentimes I think the community gets confused with the disgruntled employee of where they are and who they report to. Do I think that some of these surveys come back when you do an umbrella survey for all county employees, it then can be reflected on any one when it may be in one department that's having a lot of issues. So I'm all for it. I believe I have great staff. If we're doing something, we want to improve it. I want them to have a voice, that we aren't trying to take their voice, but I also don't want them to have, there's never been anybody ever once since I've been here that can walk up and say I was retaliated against. I've had multiple employees walk up and sit down in front of this commission and say things, and I just go, well, getting kicked for that one. That's part of it. I don't have a problem with that. They're all welcome to come up here. They're welcome to go to Phil, see Phil. Phil can speak to you guys about the meetings that we've had, and the fairness of, and you know, he's clear and far. You know, usually there's a big gap between county management and unions. Phil can tell you what he honestly thinks of how I handle our employees that are under me, and how Liz has done as well. I would appreciate knowing. I believe that it's been very fair, but to include everybody under one, I don't know that that's a fair shake for myself or for Liz as HR, because we don't have say in how them departments are handled.
I don't.
And I know what you're saying, Patsy, that you want a report saying this is where we could better the county, but as it's been said a few times in here, when you come into government from private sector, the private sector can take and do things that we can't in the government. You know.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, I do have a little bit of experience with the government, of course, but not in the survey. But there again, it depends what you're looking for in the survey. I'm looking for their input, not their grievances, their input, like what kind of skills do I have that they might be able to utilize and whatever. And by going department by department, I think I understand your point, but that's not what we do, because we don't deal with department and department. We deal with you. But we deal with all county employees as far as their health insurance and the big major decisions. And that's what I'm after. And I think, you know, I haven't seen all the questions, and I would like to do that, because if we have some input on some of the questions and how they're really brought forth. But I think I'm looking for the inside of that person to say, you know, I think my county should look more to this area and have my skills utilized here, or do I really feel that I'm happy in my position? I will be here for the next 20 years. I want them to think about that. Are you going to be a county employee because you like us here, or are you just getting some more on your resume and you plan to move on, then that should be reflected too. So when we look at this whole total amount of people that have responded, hopefully that will guide us. So not section by section per se, because that's not that individual per se that we're dealing with. We're dealing with all of us. And so I understand your point, but I don't think that's where the breakdown's coming from.
So can I speak to this, what we're doing in my department right now currently that almost addresses exactly what you're, and Colt would probably be better to speak to this, but we've been doing some energy leadership training. We had a class with every one of my department heads and some of our main people in the county, right? And so you come in and you go through the energy leadership, how you present yourself at work, how you bring yourself home, all these things, and 7 levels of energy, and how that represents the workplace and moving forward. And I'm putting this into a very quick nutshell because just for the sake of time. But and part of that, then I go back through every one of my employees and I see, where do I see them in 5 years? Where do they see themselves in 5 years? Where are we going? What are they doing in life? Where do they think they can be more utilized that we aren't utilizing them?
Okay,
it fits to what you're saying exactly. For example, you guys will probably be seeing Lakin back in front of you because I want to bring her up as a finance director, not as an officer. I think that there's a big difference in delineation between the two. We've had Rogene come and sit with Lakin and myself for a couple of weeks going through all of our books and fine-tooth combing things and seeing where we're spending money that it wasn't in the past so we can better our departments. Now, I have no control over how any elected official will determine what they're going to do with their staff and how they want to better them and what they see themselves in the future or but I'm doing that within my department and I report directly to you. The elected officials don't. So I can only do that much.
Well, and my accolades to you, because this is new, and I think it's wonderful, and you're getting the input that we need. This kind of a survey might encourage some of our elected officials, if we see what the balance are, when what's coming in, to do the same thing with a survey that's going to be everybody, and then they can pick out and say, you know, I guess that does affect my department, maybe I would like to do this too. I mean, I want the growth. I want the individual employees to grow and be happy. And you're hitting it right on the head. But this is brand new. You weren't doing this when I brought up the survey.
No, I actually was in that. I've been in the training for
No, I know
but
you have. But extending it, I think, is wonderful. And like I said, my accolades to you.
So if you go to page 6, those are the questions on the top of page 6 that they have encouraged to put that.
I read some.
Yes, so an option, if those are the questions that you guys like, I can take those questions, we can put it in an anonymous form and give it to all the employees outside of using this organization and paying the $12,000, if that's what you want.
That's my problem, is spending the money. We could use survey.
I can take those questions, we don't even have to do that, it's just, you can have an anonymous form. I can give them to all of the departments and they can write them back and put them in an anonymous letter and give it back to HR.
Oh, there you go.
But the bottom line is, we still have access when we do it in-house. And I wanted the third party. And if you don't want to, that's fine.
No, but what about that idea? And put it in an anonymous letter? How do they know who it comes from?
They don't know.
They don't.
If it comes from email,
No, they will have to
They will have
do
to-
the hard copy, they can, yeah. They don't have to put their name on it.
Would you
they don't
guys
have
like them to turn them into the commission?
That's fine.
Is it something that turned into the commission and we open them in a board meeting, one at a time?
Well, no, I mean, if you guys are worried, is what I'm thinking, if you guys are worried about, I mean, I don't understand what the
My problem
top
is the
secret is.
expense.
If we're truly trying to improve, what's so secret? You know what I mean? If I'm trying to work on a relationship with somebody, I don't whisper. I go speak to that individual and I try to build that relationship. So I'm confused at what could be said that needs to be so anonymous that we're so worried about the anonymous. It's fine. Like say if somebody is anonymous, wants to stay anonymous, they want to turn a letter into you guys of what they think we can improve, and you guys want to turn that into Liz. So now there's that separation. That's great. Let's bring them out here and let's improve on this. But I still don't. For me, we're strengthening a cancer. I think that the best way to keep two people having a problem is to keep a third party unknown. If all three people sit down in the room and discuss the issue, typically the truth comes out and the issue is settled. But if you keep a third party hidden, you keep problems brewing at all times. If two people can deal direct or include the additional parties and have open communication, a lot of the deceit and misleading or misunderstandings get put to rest and the problems go away. If we're truly trying to improve this, I think that needs to be the focus, not anonymous. I'm fine with the anonymous, turn in an anonymous letter, but to what level do we go to try to keep somebody that's trying to improve the system? I mean,
I don't want this to be viewed, because I'm in support of it. I'm in support of a neutral party doing it to also, the follow-up would probably be, you know, some recommendations. But also, it also allows us to, if me as a supervisor go up to my crew and says, hey, this is your opportunity to answer these questions, this survey's to help us out, to move along. It also gives us the marketing that, hey, you know what, we did a survey, we had this group conduct the survey, and you know what, Lander County's a great place to work. Because that's the biggest hire, that's one of the biggest hiring is environments and work environments. And with the larger groups of numbers, if you're gonna, we wouldn't be talking about this if it was 25 or 50 employees. We have 100 employees. If they wanna participate, you know, if the participation's minimal, it don't go very far. It ain't, we need to make sure that the questions ain't based off of a bitch session. It's just to survey and see exactly that. What can we do to get better? Where can we go forward, and how are we gonna move forward? If they say, hey, we're not gonna be here in 5 years, then you have to know that we gotta start making plans. What's our succession planning to do that piece? We don't have to base the questions on what, you know, do you like your department head? That's not what I'm looking for.
And I agree with you, Mike, I do, but my problem is the expense that we're spending to do it. I mean, I don't, that's the problem.
We got groups come in here that we give
No, I know.
$50,000 to me, this is the least amount of expense. And it also is there when somebody wants to say it, or the whispering out in the community, not the county, it's also here, that we get to put this on the newsletter and say, hey, here's what the survey found. No matter what your neighbor's saying or anything else, it also is, you know what, if we did a survey, and you know what? Here's the stats to it, post it. You know, here's some items that were addressed, and this is what we're gonna do. You know, this is the action plan. I don't think it's gonna be as negative as I think, I worry that there's a fear with it. I don't want the supervisors to have a fear that we're, you know, that I'm pushing to come after them or anything else. I also see the split in the community because the whispers are out there. And nobody comes. I mean, it's always a light meeting unless you know, I was expecting to see a full room today on the hydrogen plant, you know, but you see what we got, and I'm sure there's not that many people online, so it gets to be a gossip session. I like it. I've been part of several with almost every company I've been with, but I'm from the private sector, you know, that use it, and I've never felt attacked as a supervisor, you know, through it. And that's the company's way, the company we hire, that's how it has to come out. If the other counties had it and it's simply a bitch session, then it was conducted wrong. This is also to promote growth and opportunities, and shame on the people that don't wanna come forward and say that, hey, I love where I work. Because I know there's gonna be a person that says no. I think we manage the questions, I like the questions.
So that's my thing.
I like the fact that it is a neutral party that's conducting it. And then there's nothing can be said about it. That kills the rumor mill right where it started. It's like, hey, we had no say in this. I'm very comfortable with you collecting and presenting the data.
Do we maybe put one question in? I mean, if we decide to do this, could there be a question that basically lines out, how long do they plan to stay an employee of Lander County? So we could maybe have some,
So those questions are the ones that's those six questions are the ones that are gonna be asked. If you want additional questions, you have to tell me, and then I tell them, and they'll add it to the format. So if there's a particular question you want, you have to let me know.
I mean, that's something I think we look at probably down the road and have our ideas and we feed the questions to that and keep it to that. But like I said, I just don't wanna miss the piece that says, hey, this is a great place to work. And then, like I said, it gives the data to say, hey, it's supported, here it is. We offered it out. We had 13% turnout. Sorry to say.
so Mike.
Let them gripe all they want, but 13% turned out.
So, explain to me why you feel that it's important that we have a third party, that we spend $12,000 to do it.
Because it's neutral, it's outside. Then that number one, to me, that eliminates the opportunity to continue to say it was controlled, or it was, they all went to the commission and they were all set, or.
Mike, do you have your mic on?
Oh, no.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's more what, to me, that's what it is. And I'm used to it always being a third party versus internal, because that takes away the ability to point a finger and say, this person did this because why, or my survey wasn't, I know my survey wasn't submitted because, it went to Commissioner Chop. So that's why I like the third party.
Okay, well, we've had discussion on it, so if there's no more questions, yes, sorry. Oh, yes, public comment. Is there any public comment on it?
Does our union rep have any comment?
I would like you to come up, because I was gonna ask you to anyway, so you come up, please.
There's
The mic.
Phil Herring, operating engineers for the record. You guys, as the commissioners, have hit every one of the concerns that I have gotten calls on, every single one of them. Bert probably heard it, Liz probably heard it. Liz and I and Bert do have good communication. I got a problem with somebody that calls me, I call them directly. And we sit down and we meet, and like Bert said, we work it out right there personally. We get it done, there's no grievance to be filed, Patsy, so we try and avert those right there. To the survey, when I first heard about this survey that came through, my phone lit up that morning until about 10 o'clock that night, people concerned, do I have to do this? They're out to get me, they're looking for something to fire me. Those were the concerns of the employees out there, and this is just what I heard. I don't know if it got to you guys or not, but this is what I heard.
That's what I heard as well.
Being their representative, they do have the opportunity to call me, my phone's always on. I'm just giving you the facts, that's what I was told. I had people telling me that they're not taking the survey, period. There's people that told me they're gonna falsify their stuff when they do it because they're afraid of some of the negative impact that they might receive. The surveys that I have taken, I've been in the private sector as well, Mike, and I've taken those private surveys. I've done them through I had a public employee agency that I went through with one of those. The survey on that one, on the private or the public side, was damaging. They were expecting kind of like what you're expecting to see out of this survey. It went totally 100% the opposite direction. It was totally failed them miserably. Ended up costing about $65,000 for that survey. They didn't get the results they wanted. They scrapped everything. People were negatively impacted. It was not a good survey. And some of the surveys that I was in, the main concern was for me when I took mine, it had a little barcode at the bottom of the page. So there was no anonymous to it. Everybody knew who I was by that barcode. So we went to the fact, some of the guys I worked with, we went to the fact of cutting that barcode out of the piece of paper and sending it in. Well, it was tampered with, we had to redo it. So those are the things you're gonna see. You guys have hit every one of those things that you're talking about, and it is a cost, I get it. And I agree with Bert, I think if there's an issue, I think you just need to sit down with that department, have the hash out, and get it out in the air, and the transparency will resolve itself. I kind of agree with Brian, it's a huge expense. But, you know, like I say, I'm just the representative of the employees, this is kind of the stuff that I'm hearing, and they've got the opportunity to call me anytime they want, which they do, so. If something comes up, like I said, my first call is to them, so.
When I get calls, which I get several calls, my first thing is, you have a union rep, call him. If you, that is what he's for, whether you're paying for him or you're not paying for him. And I had the same thing. I'm not filling that survey out.
Yep.
I'm not filling it out. Does nothing for me. That's not, it's the same thing. They're out to get me. They're gonna know who I am, which is, and it's just because in general, society, I don't think it's so much the county or, it's just, nobody trusts anybody. And it's not just here, it's across the board. And this is, I think that if, we continue to, if we can get it out to them to utilize you because they do trust you, use him, and if you don't wanna go to HR, you go with them to HR, so they're covered, so they feel a little bit more, you know, if you know something and something isn't being done right, or you feel like you've been jaded, then utilize it that way so we can make changes, cause if there are problems, and we don't know about them, we can't fix them, and that's just, we can't, and so I just think that, and I've seen one of the mines, did one a couple years ago, and it was bad. And because they did make suggestions, and the company did not utilize the suggestion, they lost half their workforce. Because it's like, don't put us on the spot to answer, even though they were anonymous, and then not do what we said were the problems were. And they did, they lost half of their workforce, and so it can go any, you know, so many different ways of bad, and so that's just.
Well, and there's other things involved in that, there's trust issues. Some
Bottom
people
line.
don't trust their boss, some people don't trust the people that they work next to, some people don't trust the officials, and it's just common human nature. So when you put this survey out and you say, well, it's gonna go to this person, well, this person may have had past experience that was good, bad, or otherwise, and that might reflect on how they take the survey. So
Exactly.
a third party, I agree with the third party, that maybe the third party should just answer directly to you guys and bring the report to you. I don't know, I don't know how you do it, but either way, you're gonna have all those people that are gonna looking at it.
I mean, I just look at it as our responsibilities as commissioners is that we set policy and we control the purse. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
That's what we do. And if there's things in departments that need to be handled, if Bert wanted to do a survey of his people, that should be his choice to do the survey of his people. If one of our other elected officials wanted to do a survey of their department to see what morale, I mean, if I was the leader of a team, that might be something I'd consider. I'm gonna survey my team to see what's going on. But that's my whole point, is I don't think, if I'm looking at what is my responsibility as commissioner, I think it's a waste to spend $12,000, $12,200. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, that's what my job is. I just think that that's unnecessary. Even though I agree with what you're saying, and Patsy, with what you've said, I agree, but I think it falls outside of our job description and responsibilities. That's what I think.
Them 6 blocks there that we have for questions has nothing, there's not one question in there that gives room. I would recommend my organization as a good place to work.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I am proud when I tell others I am part of an organization, of this organization, of Lander County. I mean, that gives, like I said, if there's little things, eliminate the boss gripes. I mean, that's something that when we get it, and we look at and Liz and then look at the final, if it's just a rip of Bert or whatever, that piece can go.
Okay, well, I think we've discussed it enough, so if there's a motion, I'll hear the motion. Thank you. No motion?
I motion to approve the proposal for Lander County survey with Lander County and CPSHR Institute for the Public Sector Employee Engagement.
And you wanna put the amount in there, Mike? 12,200 in that motion?
12,200?
Yeah.
$12,200.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second the
Okay,
motion.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed say nay. Nay. So it passes. Okay,
Do you want any additional questions, or are those questions good?
I think we probably have to have a discussion to make sure that's the way, I mean, I like the questions,
Well, because this is the engagement. Once I send this back, they start.
okay? Brian, we wanna get the question on there?
Well, I just, yeah, I mean,
No, I like it.
yeah,
So how do you wanna word it?
I don't know, how do you think we should word it? I mean, if we're looking at what is their ideas as far as longevity with their employer, like, do you see yourself being an employee for the next 5 years, next 10 years, next 15 years, next 20 years? I don't know how you'd word it, but just to get that idea.
Are you considering Lander County as making your career, something like that?
Something like that? Okay.
And maybe one is, you know, what do you feel to make your job better or to improve? Not,
Okay.
What area do you feel could be improved upon?
yeah,
What could make Lander County a better place to work for?
yeah.
Okay, we all clear on it? Awesome, we'll move on to item 9. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove resolution 2023-11 to establish a special revenue fund known as the Risk Assessment Fund for Lander County.
Lincoln Sullivan for the record. So this is the fund that Alan kind of talked to you guys about when we renewed our pool pact. And you guys went with the higher deductible for the lower premium. And so this would be to create that fund.
Was everybody here? Were you here for that meeting,
I
Mike?
was not.
Okay, so basically it was, we discussed about putting a higher deductible, but to put money aside, so if things did happen, we could cover them ourselves, rather than having a higher premium, lower deductible.
We're self-insuring for the small.
Self-insuring for the small
yeah.
ones, yeah, exactly.
And this is creating that.
Right.
So then what did the deductible, what did we raise it to?
It's 25,000
Okay.
deductible now. And him and I had a discussion as well. I asked him how he went about funding it when he first created it, and he said that his commission passed a policy, which I don't know if we'd necessarily need a policy, but he said that they did it because they had a couple other special revenue funds as well, but they did greater than anticipated revenue. So like for pill and geothermal and consolidated tax, if it came in higher than what was expected or budgeted, then they put the excess into it.
But on that truck that we lost, how much was that truck to replace?
It actually did not get replaced, it's being repaired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they didn't total it, but I don't know what the total deductible was on that.
No, I was just wondering how much it cost.
We don't know yet. We have
Okay.
not received a bill as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But we will still pay the 5,000 deductible on that one because it happened last fiscal year.
Okay. I'm surprised that they didn't total it.
I can let you know that
Okay,
now,
yeah,
okay.
I just, that's.
Yeah, this claim's still ongoing.
We were surprised as well.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve resolution number 2023-11 of the Board of Lander County Commissioners, a resolution establishing a special revenue fund known as a Risk Management Fund for Lander County. It is hereby resolved by the Board of County Commissioners, Lander County, Nevada. Whereas Lander County is a political subdivision of the state of Nevada, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners seeks to establish a special revenue fund to account for risk management programs, services, and payment of deductibles, and whereas the county is a member of the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool, POOL, a member services consortium providing property, liability, environmental, and cyber coverage to the membership, and whereas the pool members select the level of deductible for their entity, wherein the higher the deductible, the lower the premiums paid to pool, and whereas the county will fund the risk management fund using savings from the pool assessments and at a reasonable level with a goal of at least 8 times the deductible level to budget, And whereas all the funding and fees must be accounted for separately, and the interest earned on money in the account, after deducting any applicable charges, must be credited to this special revenue fund. And whereas the money in the fund may only be used for the following purposes: a payment of maintenance deductible billings, B, risk management programs and services, C, safety enhancements, or D, any other appropriate and related risk management program expenditures. And whereas the special revenue fund shall not be used to supplement existing budgets, and whereas the money that remains in the account at the end of a fiscal year does not revert to the county general fund, and the balance in the account must be carried forward to the next fiscal year. And whereas the revenues of the fund will be used to improve risk management for Lander County, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Lander County Commissioners adopt this resolution, providing for the establishment of this special revenue fund to be named Risk Management Fund, which the revenues will be classified as specific committed revenues, and the related expenditures be accounted for as required by NRS Chapter 354. This fund will pay for the maintenance deductible billings for the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and risk management related expenditures, passed and adopted this 13th day of July, 2023.
Thank you, Bessie. We have a motion, is there a second? And a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you. We're moving to item 10, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the job description for the Lander County Emergency Medical Service EMS Director. Okay, does anybody have any questions on the job description?
I did. On the very last page, under education, oh, not last page, second to the last, under education and experience, it says it must possess a minimum valid Class C driver's license and be insurable with the hospital's insurance carrier.
We can fix that. That's just a typo.
What?
We can fix that.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
I just wanted it brought out that we fix it.
Okay, if there's no questions, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution 2023-11.
Nope, number 10.
Oh,
10.
10.
I make a motion that we approve the job description for the Lander County Emergency Medical Service EMS Director.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, we'll move to 11. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the job description for the Lander County Basic EMS. Do we have any questions on that? Okay, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the job description for the Lander County Basic EMS.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
A second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll move to 12. Oh, did you have something?
I did. I agree with the adoption of that new classification into the contract.
Okay, thank you. 13, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the job description for the Lander County Advanced EMS. Oh, sorry, yeah. So 12, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the job description for the Lander County Lead EMS Coordinator, North and South. Any questions on that? Okay, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the job description for the Lander County Lead EMS Coordinator, North and South.
A second.
Okay, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
13, for discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the job description for the Lander County Advanced EMS. Any questions on that?
I make a motion, we approve the job description for Lander County Advanced EMS.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Passes. 14. Oh, sorry.
Phil Herring for the record,
Yes.
operating engineers, I approve of that classification coming into the contract.
Okay, thank you. 14, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the job description for the Lander County EMS paramedic. Any questions? I'll hear a motion.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
Because I don't think I'm understanding it right. It says EMS paramedic, but then when I looked at the information, it said position manager, EMS director. Does that mean the EMS?
They're under the director. So the director is the supervisor of the basic, the advanced, and
Okay,
the
so the
paramedic.
paramedic is under the EMS director?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion, we approve the job description for the Lander County EMS paramedic.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And Phil?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 15, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the memorandum of understanding, MOU, for the contract agreement between the County of Lander, Nevada, and Operating Engineers Local 3 of the International Union of Operating Engineers. So there was, Nolina asked me to ask this question. She wasn't able to be here, but she wanted to know why these aren't union positions.
What aren't union positions?
What were the EMS? She wanted me to ask that question.
They are union.
They are.
They are.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's what the MOU's for.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
She wanted me to ask that question, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's the, I didn't see what the director was. Is that?
The director's not a union position.
Director's
And
exempt.
lead is not a union position. They're exempt.
That would save me a lot of time.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding MOU for the contract between the County of Lander, Nevada, and Operating Engineers Local 3 of the International Union of Operating Engineers.
Okay, we have a motion, second?
I'll second.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 16 for
Public
discussion.
comment.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So I have some comment on this one,
Okay.
and I should have probably commented before we got started with it. Joel and I did adopt this memorandum of understanding, and the problem I have with it is two things. It was stated in here that there were errors found in levels 25 through 28 that would adversely impact the current employees, that would not adversely impact the current employees. With that came this new pay grade scales. I'm not in agreement with those pay grade scales. We have two pay grade scales that are already negotiated in this contract that are current right now, that should be followed throughout the term of this contract. This county's not in any kind of fiscal emergency to open negotiations back up to discuss wages. I don't know why we're putting another pay grade in there for these people coming in. These people should come in at the current scales that we already have in place, the 14 through 28. So I would like to revise this MOU to reflect that those scales are there already, and that these folks would come into those current scales, not some new scales or anything like that.
So basically what you're saying is that whatever they were operating under currently, that would continue through the fiscal year?
So like right now, we already have 14 through 28 pay scales. And we have two scales that come in. We have people that were hired before 2020 and people that were hired after 2020. These folks would come in at the scales after 2020 because they're coming in on 2023. That's where I'm saying that.
So what he's referring to is when we put the EMS on there and we were going through the math, grade 24, somewhere along the line, and these were grades that those numbers were matched to those grades years ago, long before all of us. So grade 24 to 25 goes 8%. And then from 25 to 26 drops back down 4%. All the grades are a 4% increase from grade 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. But from 24 to 25, we found that it was an 8% increase. No one knows how it got there, so we tried to fix it and clean it up, and we were all on the same page. And I did explain to Phil, this does not impact any of the employees that are in that grade. We're not changing that. This is just fixing for new hires from here on out for those grades.
Okay, well, if we're taking over.
But I don't have a problem doing what Phil did, and then it's gonna be done again in 2 years. I mean, it's gonna be the same thing.
I would much rather wait till the end to do it, during a negotiation session where we can actually sit down, talk it out, work on those scales. I know why that 8%'s in there. That was a negotiated wage rate that was put in there 10 years ago. I went back and did some history research. That 8% step was actually negotiated in this contract 10 years ago, and I think you were probably part of that at the time.
What do you want us to do with the MOU? You want us to take out some
I
of this?
just want to revise the MOU.
He just wants to take the pace, you want the
I wanna
EMS pay scale to be
I wanna
referred to
remove-
the one we have right now.
Right, I want to remove anything that has to do with any new pay scales, any upgrades, any amendments to our grades that we already have.
So the pay scale we'd be dealing with is what we
Currently have.
what we had seen,
Yes.
creating this position.
What's in the
for
contract? Yes.
Okay,
So it'd be no different than me coming to work for you today.
yes.
I would come into one of those two scales, being,
Okay.
well, obviously after the 2020 scale. So let's say I come in at a grade 26.
Right.
I would come in at the grade 26 that we've already negotiated at, and that would carry through to the life of the contract.
Right, so just so I make sure I understand, when we had the meeting with our hospital folks and stuff, and we discussed this whole thing, we had a scale of what it would look like if the county took it over. That is the scale that we are,
That is the scale that is being presented to you right now.
which he's saying he's okay with, right?
No,
No.
I'm not. That's the amended scale.
So then what scale would they be coming in on?
He's saying not to fix the grade 25 through 28. He's saying keep it at the way it is in the contract.
Okay, it's all French to me. So are they coming in as exactly what they were making at the hospital?
Grade 25 would actually be higher. Yeah, they're coming in, they'll be fine. Either way you do this, they'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm a bit lost.
So let me show you here, Brian. So I don't know if you've got a current contract in front of you.
I don't.
So if you look at the
Well, I do
contract,
actually. Yeah, I have a bunch of pay scales and stuff, yeah.
so you actually have this in the back of the contract. So you have employees that were hired before 2020.
Do you guys have that?
No,
That's not in
no.
your backup. It's not in your backup.
It wouldn't be in there. This would be in the contract. This would be the actual Local 3 contract.
I'm 50 plus years of age,
Yeah.
I can't see
What
that.
are you talking about is these pay scales. So this is the grade pay scale, this one is higher after,
Okay.
and this one is before.
So
And
we're
what
saying-
he's saying is in these ones, grade 25, this from 24 to 25, there's an 8% increase here.
Okay.
And then it goes back from 25 to 26 is only 4, and all these are only 4, that's the only one that's an 8.
So what scale are they coming, our new EMS people coming in on?
They'll come in at this.
The current skills that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, I got it. Okay, okay, it's clear for me now, sorry. Yes. Okay. Got it, okay.
So we can just make another motion?
Yes.
That we
Yeah, so we're gonna-
amend the MOU
Yeah,
To follow the current contract.
to reflect the current contract?
yes, yeah. So we're gonna retake a vote with a different motion, so.
And then
Well,
again,
just
so
doing
when the
No.
time comes,
Just do a new motion.
Just do a new motion?
Make a motion, we amend the contract to reflect the current rate
yes. The current
of the
negotiated rates.
contract,
Yeah,
of the current contract.
All right.
But we'll have to get a new MOU to sign.
Right.
Okay. So
And we can do that
We
anytime.
have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll make a motion that we, go by the current contract.
I just
Kathy
did.
just made the
Oh,
motion, so
sorry.
I just need a second.
Oh, I'm
Want a
sorry.
second?
I didn't hear you say, I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay,
Aye.
thank you, Phil.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry to have made that difficult.
No, you're okay.
Doesn't take a lot to confuse us after today.
So 16, for discussion of possible action to set fire restriction burn ban and accompanying data, or accompanying dates for all Lander County. Okay, so this is something that we do every year, and I think we usually follow suit with what BLM does, so.
BLM and the Forest Service.
Yeah.
And what dates have they declared it and used a date?
I know the Forest Service has, I do not know about the BLM. And I say this every year, I know that you guys, but we still do not have an ordinance in place to put any teeth behind this. This is just us making a recommendation, so.
Right. Okay, so if there's no questions, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the, burn ban, to accompany, or to follow what the Division of Forestry and the BLM utilizing those dates.
Okay, so we have a motion, is there a second?
We don't know that, we don't know those dates.
Well, we
That's,
can get the, I mean,
wanna just set a date?
Well, I think.
I mean, we're in the middle of fire.
Manually, it's effective today,
yeah.
July 13th.
So, effective today, and we come back, don't we, usually to,
Yes.
effective today, so,
And then we'll be back in front of you guys.
October,
yeah.
September.
To rescind it once.
Alright, so, effective today.
Second?
Okay, so motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 17 for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove the contract between Lander County and Granicus. What is it?
Granicus.
Granicus, okay. And are these, so is that the technological firm that we're looking at?
We're
for
in
the-
here,
okay,
yes.
okay.
That is the same system I believe that Elko uses, correct?
Okay, do we have any questions on that? I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve the contract between Lander County and Granicus.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second it.
And a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving to 18, correspondence, reports, future agenda items.
I just had a comment, if some of you noticed here, but there was a copy of a letter that the Exponent Express riders that always go through every year use our airport facilities, our pilot lounge sometimes, and kind of position there, because for some reason, all of their internet stuff or whatever they do, high technology, works real well. So this year, they gave us a donation, and the letter in here is the donation of $200 that they gave us. And the advisory board said a thank you.
Okay. We were on the topic of surveys, and it jogged my memory. Did we ever hear anything back on our hospital survey that we did, that went out to our community?
It was supposed to be on the agenda last night, but we ran over on our hospital board meeting, so it's on the August 9th.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Bert, were we gonna add on the next agenda the indigent services? The stipend?
Oh, the 400, yes, we can add that. We were speaking of that. Lakin and Liz are much more informed on that. I've responded to that email with you. We've had a lot of conversations on the $450 for the Saturdays and how the commission is paying for it. So we will put that on a future agenda because that's gonna be
Okay.
quite a discussion.
We were waiting for some direction from the Department of Indigent Defense Services, because there was a lot of things up in the air on it.
Well,
We weren't the only counties that had questions.
I know the ones as far as our judges and stuff, but I thought we should at least notify our public defender
He knows.
He knows.
and see if he wants to take that extra 24 plus, then I think we should negotiate. Maybe.
I think we were gonna put that on as an item,
We are.
yeah.
And cut some, okay.
I have a few things that I would like.
So I have sent an invitation to the advisory board, so you guys were good with that?
Yes?
Okay. Advisory board update. The indigent stipend and that was all that I
I
had.
have a few things. One of the things I'd like would be, an update on the lands bill and what.
Oh, I apologize. I will give that in public comment. I have some additional information for you. I
Okay.
apologize.
So then the other one, I don't know if any of you have noticed in the, news that they're trying to get it to where the state, basically takes over the, for the voting and the centralized, everybody's on the same system. The whole state is on the exact same, have you seen that? So maybe the clerk the whole state is on the same system, because they said they're getting their information too many different ways. We would still be in control, but we just spent a boatload of money on new equipment and want to make sure that we're not going to have to, they're kind of want to basically taking it over, telling us exactly what we're going to do and what equipment we're going to utilize and stuff like that. So I think that Molly, if we can get some type of update on that, if we're gonna be having to fork out a bunch of more money for new equipment after we just bought a whole new system, I think that's something she can report on the next meeting. And then the last thing I would like to do, if we can bring it in front of the board next time as an item, is if we can get an attorney for the board for our board as a whole. I know that had been brought up a while ago, but I would like to see that put on the agenda, so we have our own attorney, if that's possible.
I know that was in one of NACO's meetings we had a few years ago. They brought that up as part of legislation. I'm not sure if that's legal by law, but if you're looking for opinions, we certainly can seek them.
Yes, if we can find that out, I'd appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
You mean, you want it on the agenda, and do we bring him up as a retainer?
Well, no, I wanna see you first. Well, before we put that, I would like to see what the opinion from NACO is on the board having, aside from the district attorney, having our own.
Like, I remember them in the legislature, and that bill did not pass, so I don't know, but we can research it and
Well,
see where.
I'd appreciate that, thank you.
I'd like to get something put on the agenda for the next go around. How about the rural roads around here setting the speed limits through the commissioners on the rural roads?
Like what's rural road?
So currently, all outlying roads are 55 miles an hour in Lander County,
Right.
unless otherwise stated in county
It has to go in
code.
front of the commissioners before you can turn it to 45,
It,
right?
yes, it has to come before the commission and be a part of the county code, and I believe that Hilltop is 45. There's one down by Austin and Grass Valley Road where it's reduced from 35 or from 55 to 35 to 25 going through by the Wolf Ranch. But that has to, each of them roads have to be brought individually in front of this commission and voted on and then added to the county code.
Right.
So do you have a road particularly you want to?
The new road we just put in, it's got a 35 mile an hour speed limit on it.
Oh, it does.
Then it just needs to be
And it can't
removed.
because it wasn't brought before us.
Yeah, well, it should be 55.
Correct.
Right.
It should be 55 per our code.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just need to get that changed.
Yeah.
Okay,
45 or 55, whatever.
well, it would be 55 based on.
55 is what the county code is outside of Hilltop, which is 45.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other agenda items?
That's all for me.
Fran, I talked to you about what our options are for where we give money. I'd like to see I would like to see where the money's being used on the group that issues the food and that we gave the money to.
Oh,
To have them bring,
yeah, so who hands out the groceries and stuff here when they come in? What's that
The
organization?
food bank?
What is it?
Are you talking about the food
no,
bank?
not food bank. We were gonna do a building and stuff.
Yeah, that would be the, who, yeah, who?
Yeah, that
The
is.
Frontier
that's-
Community Action?
Community.
Oh, okay. Would you like an update from
I
them?
would like an update on what monies they've used and just.
Now, are you looking for us to just give you an update on what they've submitted to us for payment, or would you like them to come give a report?
And for FY '23 or?
Yeah, for this year.
Last fiscal year that we just
Okay.
completed?
Yeah.
Do you want them to come and give it, or do you want me to do something?
Probably both. They'd have them
Both?
come, yeah, and then you guys can put in our pack as the, what all the
Okay.
figures were, yeah? Yeah, okay. Any other? Okay, good. So we will move into public comment for non-agenda items only.
So I do have public comment. I apologize, I missed it earlier for the lands bill. I have not submitted our official request yet to the Forest Service because I'm waiting on them. They asked me to wait. Once we submit our official request, they only have, I believe it's 60 days to respond to us and make that happen, and they can't get all their paperwork in order in that time right now. So they've asked to please hold off and not submit that request for the lands bill transfer. As far.
Forest Service is doing that?
Correct. Now, as far as the BLM, John Sherby moved into the state office and he's not in this office anymore, so that put a little swing in everything that's moving on the bill here. So the BLM is trying to work through their federal office with the state office to get all their paperwork in order, and then it should be back before the commission for signatures. Okay.
I have a question then. Ken was here representing what, the Western Alliance?
Yes.
Whatever.
Western County Alliance?
Yeah, did you say?
He gave us an invoice.
Yeah. We did have an invoice?
Yes.
That should go
That should go
on.
on the agenda,
That-
yes.
yeah,
We need to discuss about continuing our support
We
with
need to
them.
put that on the agenda.
Because it was just an
Was
update
it-
today
it was
for
just
the
an
agenda.
update?
It was not agendized as approval
Continuing
of the invoice, it was just the
renewal.
update.
Okay.
And I'd like to discuss
Yeah.
our future.
We didn't get the request from him yet to re-up for the 5,000. That's usually what we pay him every year is $5,000 to continue with the Western County Alliance, but that was not what was requested on this agenda item. That's why it wasn't.
Okay,
So,
okay. So we'll just wait for his request then.
He dropped
Yes.
the invoice off this morning when he got here, so we can put
Okay,
it on the
but
next.
Yeah.
on his agenda, when he filled out the agenda, he did ask.
On his agenda request, it was
Yeah.
it specified that continuing support, so I don't know if it was just, he thinks there's an silent agreement, so maybe it
Oh.
might be best to.
oh, I got you with I didn't see the dollar amount, so I apologize without
He didn't
seeing
put
a
a dollar
He
amount,
just said continue.
continued support.
Well, we didn't put it for action, so that needs to go on.
You got it.
Is there any more public comment?
Yeah, I want to speak.
Okay.
I went down on for the festivals for the 4th of July, and Sean and Don, it was your extra efforts and the time your crews put in, as well as you guys yourselves, it was amazing. It was the most people in the years I've gone down, even though it was, during the week. Everything, how the food trucks were put out, I've heard nothing but positive comments, and so thank you guys for what you do. I went over to the rec center and just kind of went over to see what it was. The library, I mean, what you guys burnt. Sorry, I needed to include you in the beginning because you're part of it too. The civic center remodel is beautiful. So kudos to you guys for doing what you do, and thank you for the extra time that you put in. And in addition to that, I went down to the Little League softball that was going on, and would you, with your support, please thank Reed. I haven't seen fields in my travels through my kids in baseball that compare to what your employees maintain. I know Reed puts a lot of time in. I see him at night, and the adult softball fields, all of it. The Parks and Rec department here and the rec center and what the community offers is definitely outstanding, and it's by your guys' work and dedication. The roads are also, in great shape. We're very lucky to have your group in doing what they do. So please thank your people for doing it.
Thank you for those comments. I would just let me say, it also comes with your guys' support that we do all the great things we do. Our county manager support and everything we do, and our great employees. So I will pass that along.
Yeah, your employees are doing a fabulous job, thank you.
Also, thank you guys for your support and what we do.
Cool, thank you.
I have a couple employees that have used the outdoor fitness facility that are in awe.
Yeah.
I have
On it.
seen the amazing, I went one night in Thomas and I sat there for an hour, and I'm not exaggerating, there was probably 25 to 30 different groups of people that
Yeah.
came and went and spent time, because I thought, when we first saw it, there's no way, but they are using it, it's not just
Yep.
kids, it's adults, and, it's actually amazing at how many people are using that.
Well, hopefully it's not
Very
like that,
cool.
an ordinary piece of equipment. I buy it and I do it for 2 weeks and then I give up on it.
Yeah.
So I would like to add to
I'm
what
with
Mike.
you, Brian.
First, I'd like to thank you for the positive reinforcement. We appreciate that. But is what a lot of people don't see is that most of these things that are progressive come from what people initially consider somebody coming in here upset and complaining about. Kathy, when she first got in as a commissioner, was jumping up and down and kicking and screaming all the time, and I don't mean that
No,
insulting.
I'll own that.
about, no power at the park, running out of power, different things of that nature, the tennis courts not being good, so on and so forth, and it sparks things to become better. So when we put these items on here, like for these advisory boards to come in and say, it is the seed of progress. These complaints are seeds of progress for us. So thank you guys, because the team and Aaron's getting left out of this. This guy brings all the design. He shows up and designs all the power at the park, says here it is, we install it. And I don't know where Colt bailed off to. We got Shelby back here though, it's a full team effort. Minus the fields, which is 100% Reed DeVries, and he needs all the credit in the world, and he does not want his name anywhere, but he deserves it somewhere. Yes, he is absolutely awesome. So
Yeah, we need to put that on agenda, update for region.
Right, Aaron did the grid for the park. I asked him, because last year it was just about fist fights over who gets what spot, and so I asked him, will you please do a grid of our parks? And he did a wonderful job doing that, so Mike could keep a fighting to a minimum. Her and Rita and the other lady from the pool went through and got everybody their spots, and everybody was happy. And so thank you, Aaron, thank you to Maite and all of your staff over there, because they did a fabulous job and people were happy. But one thing, first time ever, because there were so many people, when I went over the overpass, I said, there's no way in God's green earth I'm going in that park. There were so many people. That's the first time ever that I've not gone to the park, because there were so many people there.
If the thing gets any bigger, we're gonna make the park bigger too. The other thing with the Renowned Fitness Center, we have a meeting next week. They wanna come out, and the fitness group actually wants to do a grand opening. I know it's open to the public, but, as we get that information, I'll pass that along, so hopefully you guys can show up too when we do that with all the employees and stuff, so.
Okay, cool. All right, well, good. That was some good public comment. So, is there a
Oh, I
motion?
thought that was public comment.
No, that's what we're saying. Anybody else?
Yeah, any other public comment? Okay, we'll move to, motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
Charlie, you have a second. John, you have a second.